Here today to honor America with the singing of our national anthem, please welcome Marianne Hotaling.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
200 laps, 300 miles, the scheduled distance. Drivers racing each other, also racing the weather. When we come back, we will check in with Rutledge Wood. He's in the garage. He'll tell us what's going on there as these drivers and teams get ready to race.
Everybody that you look at, you say, man, they're all dangerous.
One mistake, one bad pit stop, get into the fence one time and you're gone.
When the pressure's on, it's a matter of who rises up and takes care of the moment they're put in.
One race, one event can determine the rest of your year.
8 drivers still eligible for the Xfinity Series Championship. One Rutledge Wood is in the garage. Rut, where are you and what's going on there?
Krista, I'm actually in the Cup garage on top of one of the haulers. Now, I'm not on a Cup hauler because, as you can see behind me, all the teams are packing them up. I'm actually on top of Safety Clean's truck, and you can see right now the wind is blowing so much out here from the flags, and it makes you think about the spotters on top of that roof. 17-mile-per-hour winds. It's not just the spotters. We're talking about cameras. Everybody's going to be affected by this much wind, because when you think about all the testing teams do in a wind tunnel, that's wind coming directly at you. When you're talking about the side forces of wind and how this is going to happen, you know, on one part, it's going to slow you down. On the backstretch, it might just push you even a little bit faster. So wind today is going to be a big, big factor as we talk about that weather that might come later today after the race, hopefully, but it's going to be a factor all day long. The cool thing is today with Steve Letarte on that pit box, you guys, we are getting a total inside look at something that someone we know we listen to every single weekend getting back on pit road. I'm really excited to see that, Krista. I think it's going to be a great view, but I'm telling you, wind is going to be a factor all day long.
Listen, I watched that whole interview, and wind is not a factor because not a hair on your head moved.
I used all of your hairspray I found this morning.
Thank you very much.
I really liked that special effect where Rutledge came right at us. The way you came right at us into the camera.
Here's what I
Rutledge.
like: the Scarecrow, the Tin Man, and the Lion, and now we got the Plaid Man here. The Plaid Man.
Well, the yellow brick road leads right to the championship for these 8 drivers, because if they win today, DJ, automatic ticket to the championship.
That's an automatic chance to win the championship, but you got to outrun Eric Jones, Ryan Blaney, and Tyler Reddick.
Yeah, this is a tough group when you throw them in. We heard them say it there in that piece. Everybody's dangerous.
This is not just the start of a new round. It's a round that gets you to the title race. Yes, there's a sense of urgency because of what's at stake, but also because of the weather. To say it's time to go is an understatement. It's time for the command.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give you the command to start the engines, please welcome Kansas Lieutenant Governor Dr. Jeff Collier.
Welcome to Kansas. Drivers, start your engines.
Fire up when you're ready. Iron hope.
Well, Kyle mentioned everyone from the Wizard of Oz except the Wicked Witch of the West, the Good Witch of the North. So what will we see today, DJ? We know that the energy is ramping up.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing here is playing into when is this weather going to get here? Yeah, I think we're certainly going to get through the first couple of stages, get as many stage points as you possibly can, but you may be just racing to the end of stage 2, KP, for a good finish.
Yeah, and stage 2, if they race to the end of stage 2 and just barely make it into stage 3, that could be a double point situation.
Yeah.
It is going to be critical with these stage points.
And look at the clouds, how they're just hovering. We know a storm is brewing, literally. Teams racing each other, teams racing the weather. And it's going to be time now to turn over to NBC for the race. That's where you will see these 200 laps, 300 miles. 8 drivers know if they win today, they will race for the title in the season finale. Talk about an incentive. Who grabs the moment? The answer on NBC right now.
A big weekend in Kansas. NASCAR's Monster Energy Series will have an elimination race tomorrow just outside of Kansas City. And while the Missouri side of KC features sports venues such as the Royals Kauffman Stadium and the Chiefs Arrowhead, today on the Kansas side of KC, it's the first race of the round of 8 for the NASCAR XFINITY Series. If a playoff driver wins today, he's locked into the championship finale.
It's going to be stressful. It's going to be demanding. There's no holding back.
This time of the year, you can't afford to have mistakes. Your whole season is on the line.
Definitely a lot of mental emotions going on. You're going to have to raise your game.
But know what the butterflies are going to feel like and the sleepless nights are going to feel like.
Everybody that you look at, you say, man, they're all dangerous.
You don't play it safe. You only have one goal, and you'll do whatever it takes.
You want to be able to be in that spot to have a shot at winning a championship for sure.
You're just trying to fight for that ultimate dream to be the champion.
NASCAR Xfinity Series racing on NBC from Kansas Speedway. It's the Kansas Lottery 300. Hello everyone, alongside Jeff Burton, I'm Rick Allen, and the starting grid, the engines are already fired. The starting grid will roll across the bottom of the screen. But Jeff, I want to take a look at the playoff leaderboard because this is the first race of the round of 8, meaning if someone on this list wins today, they will advance to the championship finale.
Yeah, well, two drivers I want to pick out of this lineup is Cole Custer in 5th and Brendan Poole in 6th, and here's why. Kind of flying underneath the radar. Poole is 3 points out, but top 5 in all 3 playoff races so far, and Cole Custer, he's scored the most points within these playoffs. So even though they're not in right now, they've done a good job, and I think they can move forward.
Normally the third member of our broadcast team that's normally standing to Jeff Burton's left is Steve Letarte, but today he's in a little more comfortable position, what he's used to. Former crew chief now is on the pit box. So Steve Letarte, how is that perspective now from pit stall 22?
Oh, it's a wonderful view, Rick. Back home again on pit road. I'm here on the pit box. I have my notes ready to work my strategy, and we're going to bring to the fans the view and the perspective of the crew chief from pit road. The pit calls they have to make, break down the race, break down the strategy. How is someone going to try to improve their chances to make it to the championship 4 in Miami?
One of the big breaking stories right off the bat has to be the 9 and the 19. William Byron in the number 9 and Matt Tifft in the 19. They will have to go to the back of the starting grid for violations during qualifying. So they're headed to the back after penalties, and that's going to make it an uphill battle for those two.
Well, remember, points are paid at the end of each stage. The first stage is on only 45 laps, so these guys are going to have to drive their way into the top 10 if they're going to try to get these stage points.
Up front, Tyler Riddick in the 42 will lead the field to the green flag. Eric Jones, a regular in the Cup Series, also on that front row. So if one of the 8 drivers that are regulars and playoff contenders want to have a shot at getting into the championship finale, they got to go by these 2. Green flags in the air. We're racing from Kansas.
Tyler Riddick had a really good restart, but Eric Jones in that black 20 car drove into turn 1 underneath him to take the lead back.
And I'm excited to see this first lap from this side of pit road. It's been a few years, but this makes sense. They're now coming from my right, and this front stretch is going to be crazy. It seems pretty organized at the front, but look back. We're going to see that all day long. Those cars down on that flat, on that apron, trying to complete passes.
So much has been made of the weather. The wind blowing very hard here at Kansas, and the Kansas Speedway is blowing from the turn 2 end of the track all the way down the backstretch to turn 3. It's going to affect the handling of the race cars, but also that wind's blowing in a little bit of a storm front. And so these teams are looking at the weather constantly, looking at the radar, finding out when this storm that everyone is expecting is going to get here. Will it get here prior to the end of stage 2, which would make it an official race if they get there? If it doesn't, there might be a little bit of a delay if the storm gets here too early. But these guys right now are focused on track position and getting to the front. We already see Tyler Riddick has dropped 2 spots. He is running in the 3rd position. Take a look at the DC Solar in-car, Brennan Poole, and you touched on how well Brennan Poole has been running in these playoffs.
And he's in 6th place right now, so he's already picked up 3 spots on these first 4 laps, and that's just a really good start. Those little things matter. Restarts matter so much, especially with young drivers. When you get off to a good start, it immediately builds confidence.
And the 48 of Daniel Hemrick chasing at, or Daniel Hemrick in the 21 just in front of Brennan Poole in the 48. Kelly.
You talked about starts and restarts, and Brennan Poole feels like that's been one of his strengths as of late. Remember, 3 straight top 5s to start out the playoffs, but last race at Charlotte, they did not pick up any stage points. Now they want to correct that this week. His message from his crew chief just before they went green was take this opportunity early. As you said, he's already up to 6th. That was helped in part by those 2 cars ahead of him that had to move to the rear, but the goal for this team is to collect stage points early.
Austin Dillon looking to the inside. Austin Dillon in the 2. There's Matt Tifft in the 19 and William Byron in the 9. Again, having to start at the back of the pack.
And they worked themselves up to 24th and 25th. Still a long way to go to get in that top 10. Think about it. 10th is Elliott Sadler. They're going to have to run all the way up to Elliott Sadler if they're going to try to get in the top 10. That's assuming we don't have cautions and things that help them, but it's going to be difficult for them to get all the way up that far.
Well, difficult, Jeff, but I think this is the point in the race. Even though it's only a 45-lap first stage, patience is key. You see the closing rate of these 2 cars, the 9 and the 19, versus those cars further back in the pack. Very important for these cars to be patient. What could really hurt is making contact, damaging a fender. That would take them out of the race completely. Marty?
And Steve, it helps if you have a veteran spotter for William Byron. That is Earl Barber, who's also the spotter for 7-time champ Jimmy Johnson. Byron up to 22nd, and that's exactly what he preached before the race. Listen, I know you got a fast car. I know you want to move to the front, but you got to think patience. We don't necessarily have to have those stage points here in stage 1, but you got to be patient here early in the race. So far, so good for that 9 car, up to 21st now.
And he keeps clicking off positions almost every lap, as now he looks to dig by the 24 of Dylan Lupton. Dave.
And you can't underestimate what happens post-qualifying inspection. The 19 of Matt Tifft was actually found to have a loose bolt in a crush panel. Wow, that was close for the 9 of Byron. But the 19 of Tifft had a loose bolt in the crush panel, and NASCAR made them tighten it. Well, once they tightened it, that was an approved adjustment. Rick?
Yeah, it looked like the 9 may have made a little contact with the wall. He slid up the racetrack. Yeah, certainly flat-sided the right side of that car.
Touched the right rear quarter panel, looked like to me, and you can see right here how loose he is once he moved up the racetrack, and now he's kind of along for the ride and just ran out of racetrack. And I don't think substantial damage. I don't see any tire rub. I think he's okay, but Steve just mentioned it. You're in a bad situation. Don't get don't get too amped up and make a mistake early.
Well, I think what's making that more difficult to be patient is that Matt Tifft in the 19 has left the 9 of William Byron. You would expect those 2 cars, Jeff, to leapfrog through the field.
Still getting better.
Hear a little bit of feedback from the driver of the 9 right there. Well, his goal is to keep up with Matt Tifft. He hasn't been able to do that. You see Matt Tifft continuing to move up through the field. So William Byron, take a deep breath, settle in. But Jeff, I wonder, do you think the wind could have something to do with that as well? I think these cars are going to be difficult to drive, and because it changes every lap.
Well, that wind does matter, and where he got into the wall, the wind is blowing from turn 1 to turn 3, and where he got in the wall, the wind's trying to actually push him out of the racetrack.
And that's what happened, Jeff. He said the car just got too free, and the wind certainly did not help that. He said it's actually getting better handling-wise the longer they run, but too free early in the run for William Byron.
You see the flags around the racetrack blowing, very much standing at attention. Over 15 miles per hour consistent, and gusts upwards of 30 miles an hour. That will play into the way these cars handle throughout this first stage, and that's what everyone's focused on right now, trying to gain as many points as they can early on in this, the first race of the round of 8. NASCAR on NBC is brought to you by Ford. We go further so you can. And by Bank of America. Life better connected. Riding along with Cole Custer, thanks to Ford Performance, giving us this onboard look as he works his way out of turn 4 and back to the finish line in front of the grandstands here at Kansas Speedway. Let's listen in on some spotter communication from the 1 team.
All right, dude, that second groove of 1 and 2 is in now. 21 just timing the exit, but he ran it all the way through the center.
That was spotter coverage presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less.
That's Brett Griffith, the spotter, giving information to Elliott Sadler, just saying that he ran the high line all the way around the corner, then he would turn and leave with a little bit shorter exit, trying to diamond the corner, meaning, make it, not go around there to the constant radius, go in, get to a certain point, then turn left.
As we ride on board with Elliott Sadler, the Hunt Brothers Pizza onboard camera. I've been watching just to my right. Remember, I'm down here on pit road, guys. And Kevin Mendring, the crew chief for Elliott Sadler, he's watching this same footage you are right here. He has one of those little handheld fan devices that allow you to select what in-car camera when you're here at the racetrack. Well, when I watch the race, he looks up, watches his car go down the front straightaway, looks right back down at his device. He's watching this entire race from the same point of view as his driver.
Battle for the 9th position. It goes to the 7. Justin Allgaier, one of the playoff contenders, as he was able to go by the 3 of Ty Dillon.
Yeah, Justin started 13th, so moved his way into the top 10 right now. That would be 2 stage points.
And we see this a lot. The 1 of Elliott Sadler, that pink and white car, and the 7 of Justin Allgaier. They're teammates. They both drive for Junior Motorsports, and amazingly, it seems like they are nose to tail or side by side at every racetrack we go to.
Well, Rick, you talk about teammates. We talk about this in Countdown to Green. I think they are teammates, but there can only be teammates for about 6.5 days a week now that the playoffs are here. When this green flag flies today or has flown a few laps ago, these guys have to race each other like they are complete competitors, because only 4 drivers can make it to Miami. And Jeff, I just don't think there's room for you to try to take care of a teammate.
Yeah, Steve, it's so difficult. You want to try to help your teammate because he's going to help you. And collectively you can do better. But once they drop the green flag, you have to be selfish. Now, you can't run your teammate out of the racetrack and do something that's going to harm him. But you know what? Sometimes it happens in racing hard. So being teammates in racing is a very difficult situation. You're not on the same team. In football, you're on the same team. You both win or you both lose. And here, your teammate can actually win and you lose. And it's hard to stay loyal when that's happening.
Great battle here between the 3 playoff drivers. And Steve, not to dispute you, but I did talk to Kevin Mendring about that very same subject, and maybe you experienced this during your championship runs. Kevin told me that really at this time they're still sharing a lot of information, and maybe this is just the crew chief side of it. Once it gets down to Homestead, they will be the 1 team only and the 1 team on their own. But right now, freely flowing information to try to get everybody to that championship race.
Well, Dave, I would expect them to share information all of the time. That is definitely what teammates need to do, but I think that's different between crew chiefs and drivers. The crew chiefs can share information to try to provide the best cars on the racetrack, but Elliott Sadler behind the wheel, he needs to be racing only for Elliott Sadler. And Kevin Mendring, while they share information, they definitely don't want to share pit strategies, as you see right here. Elliott Sadler squeezed through 3 wide. But remember, Kevin Mendring, he wants to get back to Miami. He was suspended last year. He wasn't there for Elliott Sadler's shot to try to win the championship in 2016.
And could the young William Byron be pushing it a little bit too hard? We've already seen him get into the wall once. Well, he has replayed that. Again, the 9 of William Byron aggressively getting through the turn and just kissing the wall that time out of turn 4.
You heard him say he's loose, and you could see right there the back of the car was coming around on it. Just does not have the rear grip that he needs, but he can't just ride around. He's got to push. He's got to move forward. He's worked himself up to 15th, but there's a fine line between trying too hard and not trying hard enough. Right ahead of William Byron is Matt Tifft. He's worked himself up to 14th, and he's only about 2.5 seconds behind Cole Custer for that 10th spot, and is actually a little bit quicker, a couple tenths a lap quicker than Cole Custer. So only 20 to go before the end of this stage. They've done a nice job of working themselves in a position. They're not there yet, but getting close to being able to get some stage points.
Hey, Jeff, I wonder when we see that 9 car getting in the wall there, both times we've seen it, he's been very high up the racetrack. And I've listened to a lot of drivers as we get through this run, talking with their spotters, asking what lanes are working. And I just wonder, he's kind of been the car that's been up to the top the earliest. Is it too early? Is the rubber not really working up there from the cup practice we had before, and the grip isn't there? And so it's that, you know, that question of risk versus reward. Do you go up earliest for that speed, but risk getting in the wall, as we've seen the 9 car do?
Yeah, and I think Parker, as you know, drivers are always searching around, and he must feel like he's actually looser on the bottom than he is on the top, and he's running where his car drives the best. And even though it's up high, I think if his car was better on the bottom, that's where he would be, but clearly he's decided the car drives better here.
William Byron trying to work his way from the back to the front. The guy who's been up front ever since the drop of the green flag, Eric Jones, leading at Kansas. NASCAR Drive is NASCAR.com's live race day companion. You can watch multiple camera angles at once. You never miss a lap with NASCAR Drive. Visit NASCAR.com/drive from your PC, tablet, or mobile device. And we're riding along right now on the Ford Performance car of Ryan Reed in the 16, who is currently running in the 16th position. Kelly.
And Rick, Ryan Reed advanced to this round of 8 in the playoffs by one single solitary point. And he told me before the race that they don't feel like they can beat the other guys just on outright speed. Plus, they already have a points deficit they've got to make up. He said, look, we know it's not going to be easy, so we need to be a little bit more courageous this round. We might need to roll the dice a little bit. Well, he qualified 15th, but as he pointed out, running 16th now has not been able to advance at Ford at all. Right now, he's telling his team he's a little bit loose in turns 1 and 2, Marty.
Kelly, it's got to be a little disconcerting for Ryan Reed that both of the playoff drivers who started in the back of the field today, William Byron and Matt Tiff, have now passed Ryan Reed. but they've gotten to 15th and 14th, and their progress has stopped. Byron saying his car is very loose. It's gotten looser the longer they run. So, Jeff, I'm wondering, is that a product of the field kind of getting spread out here, or is that a product of the handling of the race car that they've made it up to 15th, and the progress has really slowed for both of those cars?
Well, I think some of it is that the quality of the competition has gotten better as he's moved forward. Both of these cars ran Spencer Gallagher down, who's running in 13th. And once they got to him, it stalled out. And the 19 of Matt Tiff started backing up. And now the 9 of William Byron has run him down trying to pass him. So I think that those first 15 cars are relatively easy to get by because they're so much faster. But now it's just gotten much tougher. But neither one of these guys is happy with their car. And they're going to have to make some improvements for this next stage.
Looks like William Byron's going to make the move to the outside and get by Tiff. So Byron in the 9, Tiff in the 19. Those two continue to fight for positions. Byron now has taken 14th away from Tiff. And Steve, I know that when you made the transition into the broadcast booth, it was a little bit weird for you to see cars coming from your left. Well, we put you back in your comfort zone, back on pit road. How's the perspective today?
Well, it feels good to be home, back on pit road, but the perspective is great. Not only are the cars now coming from the correct side, but the view at Kansas Speedway is really pretty good. I can see the cars kind of coming over my right shoulder off from turn 4 down the front straightaway. I also have the monitor here with program. I get to see the TV coverage. I have timing and scoring. I have my notes. I have my engineer. For all of the crew chiefs, this is the perspective. This is what you see, and you learn to watch a race from a different angle. Not only just the TV coverage, but you learn to watch it by lap time. Basically, just off timing and scoring, I can kind of watch and see how my car is compared to other cars and make the decision of how big of an adjustment we do truly need to make. But Rick, home sweet home down here on pit road.
Well, you look good down there, but we miss you up here. Eric Jones and Ryan Blaney. Those two are running 1 and 2. Eric Jones has about a 1.8 second lead over Ryan Blaney. And then Ryan Blaney back to third, which is Tyler Riddick. There's 4 seconds that separate second to third. So that's how good Eric Jones and Ryan Blaney are running right now as we get down to the final 7 laps of stage 1. It's a quick stage. It'll be 2 quick stages of 45 laps, and then the final stage is 110 laps.
It's a great battle for third, but also this battle for 10th. It's a strong battle as well. Remember, 10th place pays 1 point. So Cole Custer currently has that spot. Directly ahead of him is Daniel Hemrick. Behind him are 2 people that are not in the playoffs, but if they're able to get by Cole Custer, it takes him out of that opportunity to get playoff points. And there's that 23 of Spencer Gallagher that I spoke about, that once William Byron and Matt Tiff got to him, they couldn't go anywhere else. But you can see right behind him, William Byron's car is starting to get better as this run goes on. He's run this group of cars down, and William Byron has scored stage points in every stage of the first 3 playoff races. So if he can't do that right here in the opening race of this round, that has to not feel good for this team.
Hey, Jeff, just to fast forward back to Cole Custer there in 10th place. That's been a big discussion on his radio with his spotters, what he had to do to hold off that 3 car of Ty Dillon over the last couple laps to keep that last stage point. Remember, coming in this round, the playoffs, he's the youngest driver in the playoffs, but he has been the most successful of any driver this season on the mile and a half. And I asked him why. He told me because they found the feel in that race car, but a little tight right now, Marty.
And look at that. They gave William Byron a little bit of a carrot to go chase, and he is certainly doing it, trying to find his way around. I believe that's a 3 car he just got around. Yes, and the 23 as well. So stage points are close, 4 laps, so can he get it done? He said the car getting a little bit better, still too free for that 9 car, but impressive progress from the back of the field for the 19-year-old.
And again, it's 2 19-year-olds that are racing for 1 point right now, because Cole Custer is in 10th, and that is 1 point. If you are able to finish in the top 10 in each stage, which they're coming up on 3 to go for the end of stage 1. But Cole Custer currently holding on to the 10th spot. William Byron is running 12th.
But you know, Rick, even if William Byron doesn't get to that 10th spot and get that 1 stage point, it's still mission accomplished starting at the rear of the field at stage 1, Jeff. He's got himself back into the mix, back into the picture. I think that had to be the goal for the 9 car, even if he can't catch this 0-0 you see right here of Cole Custer.
Let's listen into Cole Custer's radio.
When you try and pass them on the bottom, it just allows the 3 to close because you can't get up off the corner. Now hold on to this stage point here. I'd run the top till you get on his bump and then just slipstream past him.
That's really good information. You know, sometimes when you try to pass somebody, instinct is, I need to pass this guy because I'm going to go faster if I get in front of him. But if you give up too much track position, the guys behind you catch you, and you lose track position because you're trying to make a pass, it's not always best. So at this stage of the race, hey, man, just hold your spot. Let's get this one stage point.
Eric Jones down the backstretch for the final time in stage 1. He has a 3-second lead over Ryan Blaney. Blaney running in second. Tyler Riddick is third. Austin Dillon fourth. Christopher Bell is fifth. And it's playoff drivers. Elliott Sadler, Brennan Poole, Justin Allgaier, Hemrick, and Custer all trying to gain some stage points. There you see the top 5 across the line. And Cole Custer coming out of turn 4. And Custer's going to hold on and get one of those stage points as he finishes 10th in stage 1.
And the good news for Cole Custer, and for that matter, William Byron and Ryan Reed and Matt Tiff. Byron, Reed, Tiff did not get stage points, but the highest stage point earner in the playoffs was Elliott Sadler, and he only finished 6th. So not a huge miss by those guys.
And a surprising season already for Elliott Sadler as we ride along with him. Hasn't been to victory lane in 2017, but as you mentioned, he's been gaining a lot of points. Let's take a look at the Stage 1 results presented by Ford Performance. Again, drivers that aren't full-time in the XFINITY series or are running for a championship in another series don't receive points. That's why you see dashes beside Eric Jones, Ryan Blaney, Austin Dillon, and Christopher Bell. But more importantly, the names that are highlighted in yellow, those are all playoff drivers that earned points in Stage 1. And here comes the cars onto pit road. Kelly.
And 4 of those stage points went to Brendan Poole in the 48 car. He said he was just a little bit too free, especially on entry, and he needs more lateral grip, making a chassis adjustment for Goodyear tires, Dave.
Top finishing stage playoff driver Elliott Sadler got 5 points. He wants the car to be a little bit better in turns 1 and 2, Marty.
Eric Jones has led every lap today so far. He said the car's a little bit tight, but he said really good and obviously fast. He said I can rip off a lap whenever I want. 20 hold serve here on pit road as well, Rick. No changes to that car either.
See the race off pit road. Riddick gains a spot. Blaney loses a spot. Let's go down to Steve Letarte, who's on pit road.
Well, Rick, I had a great view of that one stop of Elliott Sadler. They had a little bit of trouble in the left rear, but overcame it, got the tire on, and you saw the race off pit road, held serve. After a great first stage, I think the one continuing to make adjustments. That may be the car to watch.
NASCAR on NBC is brought to you by Toyota. Let's go places. Arby's. Arby's, we have the meats. And by Credit One Bank, the official credit card of NASCAR. Looking down, top of this mile-and-a-half track, aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. Rutledge Wood.
Rick, I'm down here with Brian Hansen, the silver medalist from the 2010 Winter Olympic Games there in 14, driving the pace car tomorrow. Are you having a good time watching the race today?
Oh, absolutely. This is my first NASCAR race I've ever been to, and I'm so excited. And it's been amazing just watching these guys fly by and all the things that go into this race.
Guys, he's going to be sitting on top of Christopher Bell's pit box. Hopefully we'll see him in South Korea. We'll find out in January. But Christopher's got a big fan over here out of Brian Hansen, guys.
Well, he could go join Steve Letarte up there on the box as well. He said that he's got some space up there for him.
Oh, speed skaters, that gets aggressive.
Send him down, Rut. I got all kinds of seats. It's a great place to watch from.
There you have it.
I like the short track speed racing. They elbows, there's stuff flying. It's like Bristol on ice.
And a commitment violation. You see the 3 car of Ty Dillon, the right side tires hitting that orange box. And field approaching the Geico restart zone. Back up through the gears they go as they fight their way into turn 1. 22 of Ryan Blaney was trying to give a little assistance there to Tyler Riddick in the 42. He was able to push him past the 20 of Eric Jones. And so Riddick out front, and Ryan Blaney trying to get to the inside and past that 20 of Jones, but Jones fighting back on the outside. That right there is the first lap that wasn't led by Eric Jones in this race. Tyler Riddick has led a lap.
How about Tyler Riddick? We saw him win Kentucky in dominating fashion. I mean, he just destroyed the field in that race, leading this race now with two Cup drivers lined up right behind him.
Well, Jeff, you talked about it at the top of the show as well, that 42 winning Kentucky, but that 48 of Brennan Poole, his teammate, back in the 6th position, he has really kind of stepped out with these playoffs started, and his performance has gone up dramatically.
Steve, it's been a tough week for Tyler Riddick. He lost his grandmother earlier this week, Carolyn Brown, and actually above the door is not Tyler's name, but his grandmother's name. She would come to every race. She, in fact, texted him after he won the Kentucky race a couple of weeks ago. So her passing after battling some illness is a little sudden for these guys. So Tyler trying to win for Grandma today. And should we be surprised he's up front? Remember he won Kentucky? Well, they won the race at Charlotte as well. So William trying to get in victory lane again today.
Yeah, Tyler Riddick, he made the comment earlier this week that his grandma watched every single race. If she wasn't there, she was watching it on TV. She was always following his career, and he said now she's watching from up above. We're riding along there with Ryan Reed. We go back to Eric Jones diving to the inside of the 42 of Riddick for the lead. Can he complete the pass? He does.
Yeah, he got the lead, and that's Tyler Riddick. We talked about winning Kentucky. Well, there are no Cup drivers there. Well, today he has an opportunity to take some Cup drivers down and win a race where you have Cup drivers in, and that's a whole nother deal. That's not to minimize the win he had Kentucky, but it's just a bigger deal if you can win an Xfinity race with Cup drivers in it.
I want to look back on that restart, Jeff.
Yeah, so watch right here, Tyler Riddick. We saw at the initial start of the race, he did a really good job, wasn't able to hold on to the lead, but right behind him, the 22 of Ryan Blaney just pushing and pushing and pushing. Gets to the corner, Blaney gets off of him. Had he kept pushing him, he could have spun him out right there, but Blaney with a really good job of pushing when he needed to.
Here comes Justin Allgaier in the 7, getting by the 48 of Brennan Poole.
We talk a lot about these junior motorsports cars, Rick, but I think one of their strengths is that they seem to improve as the races wear on, while the 1 of Elliott Sadler is probably the best example of this. The 7 of Justin Allgaier has a lot of the same sort of characteristics. They just seem to get better as the race continues.
There's Cole Custer in the 00, losing a spot to Daniel Hemrick. And right behind them is the 9 of William Byron, just outside the top 10. Again, had to start at the back of the field for unapproved adjustments after qualifying.
So right now, if he has a loose race car like he did early, this could be very difficult with the 00 on the outside of him, but looked like he made that easy. 00 Cole Custer's turning left, going to try to cross back under him, but not going to have enough speed to do it.
So Byron has now broken into the top 10. Daniel Hemrick just in front of him in the 21. You see a lot of yellow stripes on the back of these cars. That indicates rookie status for these drivers. And a lot of rookies that are still in the fight for the championship this year. As a matter of fact, of the 8, 4 are rookies. So 50% of the battle for the championship between rookies. Dave.
Rick, this track was last repaved about 5 years ago, and there's no paver wide enough to do it in one sweep. So there are seams on this racetrack where the paver made passes. And Daniel Hemrick in the 21 had to use those seams to help his car turn, as you see Byron looking to the inside the last time. They made adjustments on this pit stop to try to prevent that from being the only way to get his car to turn, Marty.
Dave, it's fun to watch these young drivers out on the track. William Byron moved up in the top 10, as Rick mentioned a moment ago. On that last pit stop, they went down 3 rounds on the track bar. That means his car was extremely loose on that first run. Dave Ellens, his crew chief, said, hey, I went pretty far on that adjustment. If I went too far, just run the high side. He said, nope, I'll love it if it's a little bit tighter, Parker.
And behind him, the guy they both just passed was Cole Custer, who got that one stage point in stage 1 for finishing 10th, but now is struggling with that race car. Very loose on entry and on exit. You actually see him running the high lane. That's because his spotter, Eddie DeHaan, came across the radio and said, move up top, it's less radius, which means you're not turning the wheel as much, which maybe means you can hook up those rear tires a little better and try to use that high lane to move forward, guys.
Eric Jones continues to lead at Kansas. Ryan Blaney, Tyler Riddick, Christopher Bell, and Austin Dillon, the top 5. Ryan Reed currently running 14th, the furthest back of the playoff contenders. NASCAR Race View gives you access to features that let you follow your favorite driver just like you're at the track. Get Race View during the playoffs for only $9.99 when you visit NASCAR.com/raceview today. As we were getting a glimpse there and riding along with Elliott Sadler, we look up to where the spotters are standing and giving information to the drivers. The spotter coverage brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less on the track and on the road. And the wind affecting them as well. They're the highest up here at Kansas Speedway as they watch from above. 22 of the 45 laps in stage 2 are complete, 23 still to go. And the battle between teammates once again, Elliott Sadler and Justin Allgaier fighting for the 6th spot.
Well, we spoke about it earlier, how they always seem to find each other on the racetrack. Hunt Brothers Pizza Cam on Elliott Sadler's car. Looking back to Justin Allgaier.
Dave.
And he reported to his crew since that resumption of the race that he is just too free. That means that back end wants to come around too much when he turns the car. His teammate behind him, Justin Allgaier, that's actually an effect he wanted to have on his car. But I talked to crew chief Jason Burdett before he climbed back up on the pit box, and he told me that the fresh tires were going to do part of that, so he didn't want to over-adjust Justin. Right now, the 7's running well.
Yeah, Dave, I think that's such a difficult decision, and Steve can talk about it, knowing how much of a change to make. These racetracks go through such a change with rubber being put down, and if you make too big of a change, then you have to run that whole next stint with the car the exact opposite of what it is. That's a very tough call to make, isn't it, Steve?
Well, Jeff, and one small nuance they have to do as well is remember, these cars started on their qualifying tires. So they had scuffed tires to start the race, tires that had already run on the racetrack. Under that pit stop, they put on brand new tires or sticker tires. So I understand what Jason Burnett was saying. I would have assumed that newer tires or sticker tires usually shift your balance to a little bit on the freer side. But that is even more difficult on Saturday than I think it is on Sundays. Remember, shorter race, limited tires, just less time on pit road to make adjustments.
Don't look now. Here comes a 19-year-old in William Byron. He's been the biggest mover as far as on the racetrack today. 28 spots he has been able to make up since starting in the 36th position, and 26 spots by Matt Tiff back there. Tiff running in the 12th position, but William Byron has been able to get his way all the way up into the top 10, running 8th, Marty.
And what makes the team even happier is the fact that for the last several laps, they've been one of the top 5 fastest cars. Dave Ellen's radio to him a moment ago said, hey, did I tighten you up too much? He goes, no, I love that security early in the run. But impressive for this young man, as we saw a moment ago, started 36 and been very patient other than the 2 scrapes for the wall with the car, and is now right where he wants it.
Well, more than just the driver behind the wheel, Marty, that pit crew gave him 2 spots on pit road. That doesn't seem like much, but Jeff, you know that black hole of 8th to 10th? I call it that because sometimes you just cannot get out of it. Well, his pit crew, 2 free positions on pit road. That's great for a driver.
Oh, it's huge. It moves you up a whole nother row at the restart. It just makes it easier to continue to work your way to the front. Remember, he started in the back of the pack, so this is a grind. You're not going to get to the front in one simple run. You're going to have to work your way up to it. Look at this battle back for 14th. Ty Dillon, Ryan Reed, and J.J. Yaley. Look at that. J.J. Yaley, nowhere near the funding these 2 teams he's racing against, doing a really good job.
It's Yaley in the 14, and Brendan Gaughan in the 62, making his move by Yaley, or trying to get into the mix here. And Brendan Gaughan having to catch it as he slid up toward the wall.
And remember, that 3 car had that penalty, the commitment line penalty, so he had to start at the tail end of the longest line. He's worked himself up to 14th.
Exactly, Jeff, and actually a little bit of concern around this race team at the 3. After he came down pit road and then I had that violation, they were looking at the tires, and actually the right front showed some cording as they came down the end of the run in the first stage. He was complaining about being really tight and that he was going to lose the right front tire, so this team just looking a little bit at that 3 car, where he's running and how it's handling, to not abuse that right front right now because they don't want to cord it again.
Yeah, cording. I'm a driver. I don't like to talk about cording. Steve, I'm going to let you do it. Cording scares me.
Well, yeah, basically, any time that you have cording, that you've gone through all of the tire, it's important to let your driver know because he has to understand how much grip, how much he pushed that car.
Around goes the Sadler. 1. Sadler all by himself slides. And it looked as though a little contact made as well.
Get ready for 10. Nothing's going to hit you there. Nice
in
save,
6th
man.
position.
Nice save. Get her fired up as soon as you can.
Sadler was running in the 6th spot.
Right here.
Trying not to do anything to the splitter as he goes through the grass here at Kansas. The caution has come out. We were just taking a look at the 1 of Elliott Sadler, and sideways he went.
Rick, I was just going to talk about, well, you hear him say, my bad. I was just going to mention, we talked about cording on the 3 car. Well, I went and looked at the 1 car's tires. He's pitted right next to me here on pit road, and his tires look good. A little heavier wear on the right rear. Didn't look like they had any tire issues, but his were like top 3 lap times the last 10 laps, so they was finding a groove on that upper side of the racetrack, Jeff, and I think perhaps he just got a little too high, got a little too free.
Well, we're going to have a chance to look at the replays, but you mentioned the speed was there, and I think Elliott Sadler right on the edge of control. That's what you have to do, and right here he throttles up, and you can see the back end just slowly comes around on it. He was never able to catch back up, and very fortunate, I would say, not to have contact and also to have no damage when he got in the grass, but he had slowed down and pretty much backed in the grass, saving that splitter, but you can see just pushing the car and went around on him.
Hey, Jeff, he really feels like that left rear may have been going flat on him, so as soon as it comes off the car, we'll take a look at it.
Well, now I have a great few guys. I have Ken Mendering on the radio trying to get his car back to pit road. As you see right here, he spins out, and you mentioned it, Jeff. How fortunate for the 2 of Austin Dillon not to make contact. I thought for sure that was going to happen.
Nice save, man.
Yeah, so close there as the 2 of Austin Dillon was able to avoid to the outside.
You can see right here, he got kind of lucky because he actually backs into the grass first, and rather than going into the grass head first and messing the splitter up. But now pit road's open.
So pit road open. We'll see who will dive in. Only 13 to go. It'll be 12 to go when they come back to the finish line. Looks as though the 2 is going to dive onto pit road because he probably had to lock the brakes up as he was coming right up onto the 1 of Sadler. Parker.
And guys, you see Cole Custer coming down pit road here. Remember, he finished 10th in the first stage, got that crucial stage point, but has not been as happy with the race car in this stage. Been loose on entry, tight in the center, and then loose on exit. They're going to do 4 Goodyear tires and adjustment in the right rear, as you saw there, and add Sunoco fuel there for Cole Custer, guys.
And really just less than a handful of cars came to pit road, so a big strategy move by Cole Custer, because with him coming to pit road now, Steve, will he not have to come to pit road at the end of the second stage?
Well, 2 things, Rick. I think with these fresh tires, he's going to storm to the front, perhaps get back in the top 10, gain those points you keep talking about, Jeff, and then he could stay out, get some track position, and hopefully catch a yellow early in the final stage.
He should restart about 16th.
Monday, the hostage crisis forces the team to risk it all to save precious lives. The Brave, all new Monday, 10/9 Central, after The Voice on NBC. And a little bit of foul language came across the radio a little bit earlier. We apologize for that. Let's go down to the pit box and Rut and Steve.
So, Rick, I got a guest. Rut, you've come and joined me on the pit box.
This is unbelievable. This is something I've always wanted to do. To come down here and see this view is unreal. And on that pit stop, talk about a hot seat we got. That was insane.
I'm going to tell you guys, I thought Rut was going to jump into my seat. This is the pit box right to our right. That fire lit up, and No one on the team seemed to be panicked, but this flannel must be extra flammable because you were worried.
Dude, that fire safety team, props to them. That happened so quickly. I start slapping you on the leg going, hey, they're on fire. Boom, it's out. The crew never breaks concentration. That's unreal to do all of that so quickly. That's intense.
Yeah, great damage repair by the one of Elliott Sadler, guys. We'll see if he can make his way back through the box, but I got somebody who's joined me here in the pit box.
And we do want to thank Kroger Click List, the team, for allowing Steve Letarte to sit on the box, as well as JTG Doherty Racing for giving us that box as the team enters the Geico restart zone once again. Now just 9 laps of racing to go in stage 2.
And remember, Cole Custer pitted and he did come out in 16th position. Let's see if he can claw his way up to the top 10.
Looking almost like 3 wide as they work out of turn 2 and down to the backstretch.
What a restart by the 7 of Justin Allgaier. Started back there in the 6th position, made it 3 wide to get to 3rd, and now he's looking for 2nd underneath the 20.
Out in front, that is the 22 of Ryan Blaney. Blaney, Eric Jones, and a great run by Justin Allgaier, putting up inside that top 4. Parker.
Guys, as we see Ryan Blaney take the lead there, the great restart on the bottom, I'm surprised to see him do that because he's been very loose in that 22 car on the X of the corners. Actually saying on the radio just before that he couldn't even turn the wheels. We have a battle for the lead again, guys.
Here comes Eric Jones. He looks to the inside of Blaney. Jones and Blaney side by side as they exit turn 4.
You saw what Blaney did. He didn't go all the way to the top of the racetrack. He stayed in the middle to take that air off the 20 car that was underneath him.
3 wide behind him. 2 rows of 3 wide behind him as they enter turn 1. Jones setting up the 22 again, trying to get back by as the 7 of Allgaier up there in the top 3. Cole Custer, who came to pit road, he is now broke back into the top 10.
And then on the left side of the screen, you saw the 22. We talked about him not giving the entire racetrack to the 20. Well, now he's moved way up the racetrack. The 20 got that run because he went to the top, had a huge run off turn 2, and Blaney's matched it and gone to the top of the racetrack.
Hemrick looking to the inside of Poole. Hemrick in the 21, Poole in the 48. Cole Custer, those fresher tires are working out though as he goes to the inside of Hemrick.
Rick, he is using those tires, the 00 pitted from the 10th position as you ride along here with the Ford onboard. That 48 will be for the 7th position. This is going to be a big net gain as we have a continued battle for the lead.
Eric Jones to the inside all the way down to the apron, and he'll clear the 22 of Blaney. Now Blaney trying to cross him back over. Down the backstretch they go again. Jones and Blaney, 5 laps to go.
There goes the 2 car of Austin Dillon. He also pitted. He also has tires. He just took away the 8th position. Couldn't stick on the bottom. Cole Custer trying to get back underneath him.
Cole Custer with his hands full as he was able to get back in front of the 2. Here comes Hemrick after Austin Dillon got a little bit loose as well. Pretty big gap separating Eric Jones and Ryan Blaney now. We get under 4 laps to go in this stage. It's a 200-lap, 300-mile race. Dave.
Just to keep you updated on Elliott Sadler, he was able to stay on the lead lap with multiple pit stops and restarted 20th, but both rear tires were up on the 1. Remember, he was talking about getting the car very, very free, and the team believes he just came around.
Well, let's keep in mind, we know the 00 pitted and put on tires, and that's great right now, but will it catch up to him later in the race? Also, the 1 car put on tires. He had no choice. He flat spot them, they had to pit. So if we get a lot of cautions late and these cars can't pit them, put on more tires, because you're limited to the amount of tires you are allowed in an Xfinity race, that could come back to bite them.
So Cole Custer was 10th when he came to pit road, and now he's moved up to the 8th spot. And even up to 7th as we look at Elliott Sadler. Before the spin, he was running 2nd and now 3rd as far as playoff points positions.
I think the key to that was he was positive 22 points and now only positive 8 points.
Just in front of him, Ryan Reed in the 16. And again, Sadler running in the 13th spot now. That recovery after his spin. Eric Jones trying to sweep the stages at Kansas today in the Xfinity Series. He won stage 1, has almost a second lead over Ryan Blaney as he works through 3 and 4 for the last time in stage 2. And back to the finish line, it's Eric Jones winning stage 2. Blaney, Allgaier, Christopher Bell, Tyler Riddick, the top 5.
How about William Byron with that 6th place finish? Remember, we've documented he started in the back, tried to get points in that first stage, couldn't make it happen. 6th right here, Allgaier 3rd, Cole Custer 7th.
Eric Jones wins stage 1 and stage 2. You're watching the Kansas Lottery 300. Sunday night is football night. Matt Ryan and the Falcons visit Foxborough for a Super Bowl rematch. Tom Brady and the Patriots. Mike Tirico and Dan Patrick host Football Night in America. That's tomorrow at 7 p.m. Eastern only on NBC. And we mentioned earlier that weather was definitely going to be a part of the story, and it's moving to the northeast, but it's, probably 40 miles to the west of us right now, so hopefully it won't affect the finish of this race. But since stage 2 is complete, it could be considered an official race if rain and bad weather does come in to stop this race. Pit road is open, and here come the cars, Dave.
Justin Allgaier finished 3rd in that round. 8 more valuable stage points to add to his 3 that he got earlier. He says, I need more to lean on. That is going into the corner. The crew will work on that, Parker.
Cole Custer finished 7th there after coming all the way from the back after pitting there. His crew chief asked him not to slide the tires. I'm expecting them maybe just do right sides here. Too loose inside that double zero car, and it is 2 tires, Marty.
William Byron said his car is still too edgy to start, so he wants a little more security in that part of the run, but he's happy with it on the long run. 4 fresh Goodyear tires and an air pressure adjustment. He came in 6th. Let's see if they can gain some spots on pit road, Rick.
Big gains for Austin Dillon. We believe 9 spots, but Cole Custer just a 2-tire stop up to 2nd. NASCAR on NBC is brought to you by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less on the track and on the road. A blustery day in Kansas City, Kansas, and Kansas Speedway, and complete starts, and actually the start of the race has been very entertaining. This was the start of the race.
And you see the very start of the race, the leaders just have not been able to hold on to the lead. Tyler Reddick sat on the pole, but immediately gave the lead up to the 20. And then on the second restart, you can see right here the 20 car, he had the lead, he took the outside, and Tyler Reddick took the lead from him.
Yeah, and that's been consistent. Eric Jones again, he decides to take the outside, I think because he thinks he can get more momentum through 1 and 2. But the 22 of Blaney just basically clears him into turn 1 and holds the position off from turn 2.
So now we have an interesting dynamic with the restart. We have Ty Dillon and Blake Cook, who pitted on lap 78 and put tires on. They did not pit on this last pit stop. So this will be the first time we've seen cars restart with older tires. Right behind them, Austin Dillon, Cole Custer. You saw Cole Custer, he put on 2 tires. Austin Dillon fuel only because he also pitted on lap 78.
Kelly.
Well, one of the keys to this race for Brennan Poole in the 48 cars, he told me he can't lose any spots on pit road. We'll watch his last pit stop. Brennan came in just a little bit too hot. You see the Jackman there had to jump out of the way. Then Brennan takes the time to back up a little bit before they completed the service on this stop. He came to pit road 8th. That's where he finished the stage. But looks like that he will line up 15th now for this restart. The team right now telling him just to shake it off, keep his head down, get all he can.
Steve.
Well, we've been talking about the vantage point of pit road and what it looks like. Well, this is going to be a great shot right here. As you mentioned, we have the front row on old tires as well as the third place driver of 2 of Austin Dillon. But we're going to take a look to see what these restarts look like from pit road right here over my shoulder as the cars come through the restart zone. You see them accelerate, and you see instantly that the jump of that outside lane of the 3 car.
Big fight for position there. The 20 of Eric Jones trying to go by Austin Dillon. He makes it easy as Dillon sliding back through the middle. And we mentioned those tires, a little bit older tires. We're going to hinder some of these drivers up front. Sure enough, the 11 of Blake Cook falling back quickly as well. Parker.
Yeah, guys, and I'm not really surprised. They have not had the speed in that 11 car that they wanted. Remember, he comes into this race without his crew chief, Chris Rice, who was suspended after the race at Charlotte. He has Lenny Chandler filling in on the box, but he said that car is driving great, just don't have the speed in it, wasn't able to use that Hail Mary and get up front.
Riding along with Cole Custer, again, just a 2-tire stop for the 00. Is that going to play out? Because this time there will have to be a pit stop in the middle of this stage. They won't be able to go the entire distance based upon fuel.
So, Jeff, you mentioned they only put right side tires on. I don't really love that call. I think Jeff Mendrick could have put 4 tires on. Remember, he drove all the way up to the 7th position. So by taking 2 tires and being the first car off pit road, he only restarted a couple spots in front of that. I just think that the left side tire wear is going to hurt his speed, but we're going to have to see how the 00 holds on as the run goes on.
Marty.
Hey, Rick, let's give a call to the man in second, Christopher Bell, and I should say young man, the championship leader in the Camping World Truck Series. He has 5 wins in that series this year. Just his 2nd mile-and-a-half ever. Now, normally when you're a rookie in any NASCAR series, you get an extra set of tires. Well, because the 18, as that's what Christopher Bell is driving today, is in the Owners' Championship chase, they didn't get that extra set of tires. Even though it's just his 2nd race at a mile-and-a-half in the Xfinity Series, they would have loved to have had that extra little bit to practice with. So, Jeff, sometimes for rookies it's tough. How about that, Rick, though? Almost 4 wide on the backstretch.
3 wide, and Riddick having to check up because he got right on the back bumper of Ty Dillon. Dillon holding him up. Christopher Bell, by the way, as you were just talking about, he'll be running full time in the Xfinity Series next year as he continues to fight for that championship in the Camping World Truck Series.
And Rick, as we watch the 00 fall back there, Steve, I have to agree with you. I think that was an odd choice, only doing the right side tires. With another set of tires here in the pits waiting for the 00, they still used that second to last set, but they only did on the right side, and I just don't think it's going to pan out the way they want it.
That's right. What happens is you're allowed a limited amount of tires here in the Xfinity Series, but really, once you burn those right side tires, new lefts, I'm not sure, are going to be worth a lot of speed. So you're absolutely right, Parker. Putting on just right still uses up that set, and it doesn't appear that the speed of the 00 has been able to stay as good as it was when he was on 4 equal tires.
William Byron, again, we documented unapproved adjustments after qualifying put him all the way to the back at the start of the race, but now he's fought back. He's up into the 7th spot as he chases after the 3 of Ty Dillon.
Yeah, and it wasn't easy getting there. We saw him sideways. We saw him getting into the wall a couple times. He said one time he got 3 wide. Someone may have made contact on the right rear quarter panel as well. So it's not like it's been an easy drive up there. He's had to get as much out of the car as he possibly can to get himself back toward the front. And that's a difficult decision. When you're in a championship battle and one race can take you out of that championship hunt. And remember, last year in the Truck Series, he was the favorite. Everybody thought he was going to win the championship. He didn't even advance into Miami Homestead with a chance to win the championship because of mechanical issues. So for a guy like him that had that experience, it's even that much harder to push hard and maybe put yourself in position to make a mistake.
Matt Tifft, the 19, the 33 of Brandon Jones fighting for positions on the right side of your screen, Kelly.
Yeah, and Brandon Jones has been having a great run today. Been running around that 10th position all day long. It's been a very difficult season for this team. They've had just about everything that can go wrong happen to them, and today they've had yet another challenge. The radio is not working on the 33 car. In fact, they even talked about changing the steering wheel on the last pit stop because they think it might be a button on the steering wheel that's causing the issues, but instead they've decided just to keep it as it is. So they're relying on hand signals for Brendan to communicate with the team to tell them how the handling is of the car. So going a little bit old school for the 33 team, but he's hanging on for a good run.
And Kelly, I think that's a good call by that team. You know, this team, as you mentioned, they just have not had a good year. Everything possible has gone wrong. Don't give up track position. When you're having a good day, you can deal without the driver being able to talk. You can't deal with the driver not being able to hear the spotter. But just deal with that. Don't give up track position and get yourself back in a position where it's easier to get into a wreck.
The battle for third continuing to heat up on the right side of the screen. Justin Allgaier and Ryan Blaney have continued to fight. And once again, everyone chasing Eric Jones. Eric Jones out front. He's already led 95 of the 105 laps complete. Ty Dillon, Ryan Blaney, and Tyler Riddick, the only other drivers that have been out front today.
You know, Rick, one interesting thing is you mentioned that Eric Jones has had a pretty comfortable lead most of the day. This race averages like 5 yellows in the second half of the race. Well, with those limited amount of tires, most of the leaders have 2 sets of tires left in the pits. When you put those tires on could purely be the decision maker of what car is out front when this race ends. So if those averages hold true and we see some yellow flags fly, the 20 of Eric Jones is going to have to make a decision. When's the right time to put on that next set of tires where the rest of the field can kind of wait and see what the leader does, Jeff?
Yeah, there's so much harder decisions in the Xfinity Series because you have limited tires. So if you make the wrong decision at the wrong time and you get more late race cautions and somebody else didn't put tires on, they're going to come in and have tires, and we saw the advantage in tires. We just saw it on that last restart. So I think crew chief in an Xfinity race many times, although the race is shorter, many times is actually more difficult than crew chief in a cup race.
We continue to mention the limited number of tires. They start with a set of tires on the car, and then there are 4 sets on pit road with them or for them so that they can change to those. That's the limited amount of tires that they have for this race. Marty.
And Rick, William Byron and his team have 2 sets of tires left. Remember that pit stop a moment ago? They restarted 9th. They made up a couple of spots, and now there's just one playoff driver in front of him. An impressive day for this young man. And Jeff, the one thing that just keeps coming back to me is when I hear William Byron on the radio, he's so calm. He never was panicked when he hit the wall twice earlier today. Wasn't panicked when he was in the back of the field. For a 19-year-old, the composure this young man has is just amazing.
Marty, I am just continually impressed with William Byron and his maturity at 19 years old. And we're seeing that as a trend in NASCAR racing, where younger drivers are coming in more prepared, not just physically but mentally. They're ready to deal with this, and whether that's because of the availability to simulation, drivers are starting at younger ages now, whatever it is, we're seeing them more ready when they show up. William Byron, to me, you know, he really doesn't have that much racing experience. He didn't start racing when he was 4 years old, 5 years old. But when he got here, he was ready. He's prepared himself. He is a professional athlete, and he conducts himself like that all day long, 24/7. He's prepared. He's ready to come, and he's ready to race when he shows up.
Well, guys, a quick update on Elliott Sadler in the 1 up to the 15th position. The team has done a nice job repairing the race car, and I really think he has race car enough to get up inside the top 10. But as we keep mentioning, with 89 laps to go in this race, what has really hurt this one car is that spin basically costs him a set of tires. They don't get a replacement set, so while the leaders have 2 sets of tires, he only has 1 set of brand new tires in the pits. He does have a little bit of used tires, but those will be a disadvantage if he's forced to use them.
Just how close is it? As far as if you advance into the championship 4 right now, as you look at the left side of the screen, tied, the 00 and the 21. We go now. Catch all the action of NASCAR on NBC with the NBC Sports app. You can get closer with alternate camera angles, driver stats, and track information. You can get it anytime, anywhere. That's the NBC Sports app. Coming up tonight, 7:30 Eastern on NBC, it's USC versus Notre Dame. 2 top 15 ranked teams colliding in college football.
That's an old school rivalry right there, Rick.
Absolutely. Good rivalries going on all around the track. The 42 of Tyler Riddick trying to chase down the 7 of Justin Allgaier. Allgaier is holding on to the 4th spot right now, but Riddick making the move to the inside. He'll try to take that 4th position away.
Such a hard pass to make. You can see the lines moved up the racetrack, so obviously more grip at the top of the racetrack. So if you're Tyler Riddick, Justin Allgaier is where you want. He's taking your spot. He's where you want to be, but Justin Allgaier is not going to give it up. So in order to get by him, he's going to have to go to a part of the racetrack that has less grip to try to make that move. And it's going to be very difficult because also when he gets beneath the 7, the 7's pulling all the air off the side of that 42 car, taking air off the spoiler, taking side force away. And not only is now the 42 in a bad spot with low grip on the racetrack, but aerodynamically he's in a bad spot also.
Hey, Jeff, let's talk about why that happens. Why do they all go to the top of this racetrack? Remember, this is a variable banking racetrack, so the most banking in the racetrack is at the top, and that's why we see them migrate up there as the tires wear. But you mentioned that if a car is running your lane, then you got to search around. Well, another thing I've heard drivers talk about is when that car is running your lane, if you can get to their bumper on the entry and just get them a little bit loose, that allows you to maybe get that little bit of advantage off the corner, and that's why we're seeing some drivers try to run right up to the bumper on the top side.
Yeah, Parker, I think that when you're following a car and he goes to the bottom, that's a great move. Like to just drive your front bumper right to his rear bumper, try to pull the air off the spoiler. But when you're running the top and you run up behind a guy, you take air off the spoiler, where's he going to go? When he gets loose, and you can't drive on the outside of him when he gets loose. When he gets loose, the wall's there. And now you put yourself in a jeopardy of getting in a wreck. So when he moves to the top, it's very difficult to make the move, even taking the air off his car, because now you put him in a bad position with the wall on his right side, and therefore that puts you in a bad position.
Allgaier currently holding on to the 4th spot, and what a season it's been for Justin Allgaier. You look at the laps led this season, 495 laps led, his career season so far in the Xfinity Series, and he continues to add to those numbers as he still has 4 races remaining in the 2017 season.
And remember, this 7 car of Justin Allgaier won at Chicago and Phoenix this year. Well, Jeff, you know Chicago, Kansas Speedway, while they are definitely different racetracks, if you blink in the garage area or even here on pit road, they look almost exactly alike. The layout, the stands, the suites, they drive a lot alike. I know the setups are very similar, so that had to have helped the 7 entering this weekend.
Yeah, listen, I think the 7 car, he has proven that he is a real championship contender. This is a career year for him, but they have not let up. They've been good within the playoffs, and you have to look at, I think everybody looks at William Byron and thinks he's the guy that has the best shot, but this 7 and Justin Allgaier, they're going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, and Allgaier knows how to win a championship. He did it back in the ARCA series, which is another stock car racing series. He was able to win there, and trying to now parlay that into success in NASCAR, and he's done a great job as he continues to run and compete in the top 5 here in the championship. Let's learn a little bit more about Justin Allgaier.
Hi, I'm Justin Allgaier, driver of the number 7 Brandt Professional Agriculture Chevrolet. And here's 3 things you don't know about me. Number 1, I've been married to my wife for 11 years. We've been together for a lot longer than that. Number 2, I'm an avid graphic design artist and love doing that. And number 3, I love going on the lake and spending time with my family.
There you have it, Justin Allgaier again running in the top 5, currently 4th, and I would say one of the lead championship contenders. William Byron is up there, Elliott Sadler, Justin Allgaier, definitely one of the title contenders for 2017, Dave.
And Ricky may have a bit of a performance issue in the engine right now. He's been listening to a sound that sounds like a hole in the exhaust header. That hot air coming out of there, if it's not pressurized just right, it loses optimal performance for the motor, the horsepower. So he says, as I'm getting to the end of the straightaways, I can really feel the difference. Asking his crew, can you see that? So hopefully that doesn't affect him before the end of the day, Marty.
Behind him, Tyler Riddick in the 5th spot, trying to take advantage of Justin Allgaier's issues. Car's a little bit too free for Riddick right now, but trying to get that 4th spot. Imagine the pressure when he gets in this specific car. Kyle Larson has won in this car 3 times this year. California, Richmond, and Dover. He would love to get it back to victory lane. A little bit further back, William Byron says this car is a little bit too tight and it's difficult to do any moves in dirty air. But you notice Byron running the top of the racetrack. You might remember the last race of the regular season for the Xfinity Series. They broke a gear in the 9 car, but Dave Ellens fixed that as crew chief and set him back out on the racetrack for one reason and one reason only, to learn how to run the top of the racetrack better so they can get ready for Homestead, Miami. Steve, you know, you never know when or where you might learn things, but those laps at Chicagoland, when there was nothing on the line for William Byron, may mean that it could help him in the championship race later this year.
Well, Marty, there is nothing more important than track time, and with the limited testing, it's hard to get on the track. Great move by Dave Ellens, but Dave, you just reported that 7 has an exhaust leak or a potential exhaust leak. It not only could hurt engine performance, but they have to be very careful and hopefully a little lucky that the exhaust leak isn't near either of the 2 front tires. I have seen where exhaust can actually blow on a tire, causing a failure, so I have to keep a good eye on this 7.
I want to listen in on some spotter communication from the 7 team.
Watch this 42 right here. He's about 4 back, right in the same line as us. He'll be 3 off of us when we get to turn 1. They make up a lot of ground from right here to turn 1. Yeah, making up ground right there.
That was spotter coverage presented by Liberty Mutual Insurance, helping drivers worry less.
Now you can see here all that information about different lines that drivers are running, and you know, this 2-car pack right here, they have run Christopher Bell down. You saw the 42 try to make a move of Tyler Riddick, and that move happened because when the 7 got to the 18 of Christopher Bell, now the 7 doesn't drive as good. He got aerodynamically deficient. The Riddick tried to make a move, and now he lost all his grip, and look how much ground he lost. But they've run Christopher Bell down, and not far ahead of Bell is Blaney.
Erik Jones still out front. We haven't showed him a lot because, well, he's a 5-second lead over Ryan Blaney as we go NASCAR nonstop. Make sure to join us weekdays at 5 o'clock for NASCAR America on NBCSN as we break down the weekend's race as well as look forward to the upcoming week. And one of the special things about NASCAR America, on Wednesdays, it is at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Uptown Charlotte. This Wednesday, special guest will be Joe Gibbs, the Hall of Fame football coach, also the owner of Joe Gibbs Racing. All of his cars currently in the top 11 right now in this race, but he will join on Wednesday from the NASCAR Hall of Fame.
Incredible setting to go to the Hall of Fame, and you know what's fun is we had Dale Earnhardt Jr. last week, we had Danica Patrick the week before, and they go in the Hall of Fame, and they're the drivers are looking around in amazement. Also, as the older cars, the exhibits, it is a fun environment.
Very impressive setting for NASCAR America on Wednesdays. Want to take a look at today's Toyota driver update. You see Matt Tifft in 11th, the only playoff driver behind the wheel of a Toyota.
We got a caution. We got a caution coming out.
And a slide coming out of turn 4, just in front of race leader Erik Jones. It's the 39 of Ryan Sieg going around. And that will bring the caution out with 63, now 62 laps to go. That would be stretching it on fuel, wouldn't it, Steve?
Well, I think it's stretching it from 62. I think it's going to take a lap to catch the field up, probably open on pit road with about 60 laps to go. We expect the fuel window to be at lap 58 to go, so I think all of these leaders will take this an advantage, and I believe they can find 2 laps worth of fuel. So I think it's just inside the fuel window, or maybe a better way to put it is just outside the fuel window, but every leader will be on pit road.
And the free pass is going to go. We'll wait for NASCAR to give us an official on that. Free pass is going to be Dylan Lupton in the 24. He was the highest scored lap down car. So that'll put 20 on the lead lap. Let's take a look at what happened with Ryan Sieg.
You can see Ryan Sieg just comes in the screen and car just comes around on him. It looked a little bit like Elliott Sadler's accident where I think you just pushed him a little bit too hard. It came around on him. No contact. Well, let's think about the strategies now. We mentioned Cole Custer. Earlier he pitted and did 2 tires, and we all questioned whether that was the right decision, but when he pitted, he came in running 8th. He went out, gained track position because he put on only 2 tires, and he netted out there 7th. So overall, I think that was probably a pretty decent move. Now, had he put 4 tires on, could he have moved further than 7th? I don't know that, but he really gained 1 spot from where he ultimately pitted from.
Well, I absolutely agree. I was very critical in this 0-0 because he was backing up, but he found a spot, Jeff, kind of rode and made it work. But the other car I think we have to look at is behind the 0-0, the 3 of Ty Dillon in the 9th position. Remember, he chose not to pit at all and put tires on. So my quick count down here has the 3 car having perhaps 1 more set of tires than most of the leaders. 61 to go. If it goes green, no advantage. If we get a few timely yellows breaking this up evenly, that extra set will be a huge advantage. Rutledge Wood.
Steve, I got a question. When I was sitting on the pit box with you, I saw how many monitors that you have. And you look at over here on Cole Custer's team, they've got 5, almost 6 monitors, and a lot of that information is engineering information. Can you tell people some of the things that you would look at in a moment like this when you were on the pit box trying to figure out exactly what you were going to do?
Well, you have a lot of information. You have timing and scoring. You have program. You also have a couple screens that probably the engineers here can feed information to. And Rut, there's probably some even engineers sitting back in Charlotte for some of these bigger teams watching the race. I mean, between chat and email and all the different ways, communications comes from every different angle. So a lot going on for the crew chiefs, and apparently a lot going on for me because I had the 3 having an extra set of tires. But Jeff Burton, you're thinking he has an equal set to all the leaders.
I think he's equal set, yes. Dave.
7 car of Justin Allgaier is running 4th. He'll come down pit road. Of course, they can't do anything to address that possible hole in the header situation, but he does want chassis adjustments to make his car work a little bit better through the corners, Parker.
Cole Custer pits out of 7th, as Jeff mentioned. It was a net gain using that 2-tire strategy. They're going to put on their last set of Goodyear tires here, and Sunoco fuel, and adjustment in the right rear, just struggling being too loose in that 0-0 car, Marty.
Bottom of your screen, William Byron comes in running 6th. He said the car fired off good, stayed good, maybe just a little bit too free at the end of the run. They're going to make a small adjustment. He said he also found some things at the end of the run that might have helped. Eric Jones wins the race once again off pit road, Rick.
Yeah, this is a place where you can't make a mistake. With just 60 laps to go in this race, the 21 of Daniel Hemrick slides into his pit box and actually just outside of his pit stop.
Welcome back to the Xfinity race from Kansas. The 21, Daniel Hemrick, has a penalty for pitting outside of the pit box. So right here's the replay. The 21 comes in, he slides through his box, they jack it up. Here's where the mistake is made. They take the old tire off, they put the new tire on. That is a big difference. They now set the car down and roll it back. So listen, they have the option by putting the old tire on and rolling it back, no penalty. It's clear in the rule book. But because they put the new tire on, that is deemed service. That is service with the front of the car outside the pit box. That is a 1-lap penalty for the 21 of Daniel Hemrick. A very costly penalty. So you talk about small details in here, you'll see him being held. Jeff, we talk about pitting and pitting outside the box. It's been a hot topic. Something as simple as which tire they put back on to roll the car back. That was the difference maker between penalty and no penalty.
And they recognized the problem. They just didn't understand the rule. And all they had to do was take that tire back off, put the old one back on, roll it back in. They knew they were out of the box. They just didn't understand the rule. The basis of sports is you have to understand the rules, and if you don't, it'll come back and bite you.
It's going to drop him all the way back to 21st, 1 lap down. He'll be the second car that's a lap down. Blake Cook also is 1 lap down. Kelly.
Rick, Brennan Poole is one of 8 playoff drivers remaining, but his future in this sport is unclear. He told me he doesn't know where or what he'll be driving next year. What he does know is that a championship would open up a whole lot more in terms of opportunities. His only focus now is advancing to that championship race in Miami, and today he's going for his 4th straight top 5 finish, Dave.
Elliott Sadler's slide to bring out the caution earlier cost him a fresh set of tires. Here's what the team did. They took off this set, which had 15, when they put this one on, 15 laps on it. They ground out the holes here, put on new lug nuts. And while a lot of the leaders have a very fresh set, Elliott Sadler only has 1 set left that has 15 laps on it for the end of the race if he needs it, Parker.
Well, not in as good a position would be the 00 team of Cole Custer. They just put on their last set of tires, Dave. All they have left that is new is left sides, and that's not really going to match up well with used right side. So this team is hoping not to have another caution here because they want this to run out on this set of tires and not have a chance for others to be on newer tires, Marty.
Parker, all year long, it's been so much fun to watch 19-year-old William Byron. Well, today, he's put on a show once again. Started 36 this afternoon. He's up in the 6th position, and maybe his biggest win of the year, Rick, was at Indianapolis. Today, he's driving the same car that he won with at Indianapolis. Going to see if he can pull it off one more time and get back to victory lane after he started at the back of the field to start the race.
It has been an impressive run for William Byron, starting at the back of the field all the way up to the 6th position right now. Eric Jones and Christopher Bell making up row 1, and this time Eric Jones has chosen the inside line.
Wow, that's a risky move.
Closing in on the Geico restart zone. 56 laps to go as they come back up through the gears.
Christopher Bell's got a good restart, did exactly what he needed to do. He's going to be able to enter on the outside of the 20 side by side.
20 lost the lead the last 2 restarts on the outside. Doesn't want to do that again, so this restart he chooses the inside line, and it's not going to work for him again. He has Christopher Bell on the outside making that high line work. Here comes the 20, though, working that inside line once again.
That outside line, you can see how much better it runs down the straightaway. Eric Jones a little bit quicker through the corners, but running the outside just keeps that momentum up.
And now Eric Jones surging in front. Can he clear him? Get in front, and now he does. Eric Jones clearly in front again.
Mentioned Christopher Bell earlier. He's leading the truck championship right now. Their standings, and going to run that full-time Xfinity Series next year for Joe Gibbs Racing. So it's great that he has the opportunity to get some time in these Xfinity cars this year, doing a great job.
And this is only his 5th start in the Xfinity Series this year. He's finished 4th, 16th, 19th, and 6th in his other 4 starts. So an impressive run for Christopher Bell once again.
Yeah, Christopher Bell, he lost the bottom of the racetrack, tried to carry a little bit too much speed off turn 2. And when he did, the 22 of Ryan Blaney took advantage of it, took 2nd place.
And Rick, you asked about the fuel window. Well, these cars pitted with 60 laps to go, but then had a couple yellow flag laps. I think that's enough to move them into their window to safely make it to the finish. But just keep this in mind, guys. If this race stays green and goes 56 laps to the finish, that will be the longest green flag run to finish an Xfinity race here ever. So, Parker, I'm not sure. Stats would say we aren't going to see that. But you know what, stats, they're right about half the time.
Exactly, as we saw the 42 Tyler Riddick and the 7 Justin Allgaier get very close there. I want to show you guys the tires that came off the 2 car of Austin Dillon. You can see the right rear there was actually corded, and he's not the only car I've seen a little bit of cording on. So if we do go this long of a run, I really wonder if some of these crew chiefs are going to be a little worried about those tires going all 57 laps.
I think, Parker, the important thing is to let your driver know what you're seeing right here on the screen. Say, hey, guys, the one car that tried to do it, he tried to go this distance. He did have a little cording. When you have an opportunity, as you see the 33, jam him up there, Rick. You know, let your driver know to maybe try to take care of the tires when they can.
Yeah, Brandon Jones in the 33 backed up as he got almost pinched up into the wall.
Yeah, he was 3 wide on the outside, and see right here, he just gets really loose. Had to chase it up the racetrack. Never hit the right front, just the right rear. And those are the things this team, you know, we mentioned earlier, they're having a good day. This year has just not gone well for them. They just need to finish this race off cleanly.
Let's listen into Elliott Sadler's radio communication just before the restart.
Well, can everybody make it from here, or what do we need to save a little bit under green? The 2 to the good right here. Okay, just making sure here before we get going.
And that's perfect. You've got to know, if you've got to save laps, how many laps you need to save, and you need to know it early. It does you no good with 10 to go for somebody to come on and say, hey, we got to save 2 laps. It's too late. If you can spread that out over the whole run, then you can make good lap time. You can manage it throughout the whole race, through that whole run. That's great information, Elliott Sadler.
I was sweating bullets. He was going to say he was too short, Jeff. I just said the world was good. I was sweating bullets. You guys are going to prove me wrong with the radio, but now I feel better about my calculations.
They all better hope that it doesn't go overtime, because they look like they're right on their number as we go NASCAR nonstop. Eric Jones still out front, 1.4 seconds in front of Ryan Blaney, who's running in that second spot. Christopher Bell, Tyler Riddick, and Justin Allgaier in the top 5. As I mentioned, Ryan Blaney We flash back to Dover, and Blaney driving the 22 decided to give a fan the checkered flag. Well, that fan was able to hang out in victory lane with him. And then, same thing. A young fan was able to get the checkered flag. You can bring the whole family to a NASCAR race, and it's never been easier or cheaper. Kids 12 and under, they are free for every XFINITY and Camping World Truck Series race on the schedule. And there's discounted tickets also available for every Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series event. Visit NASCAR.com/kids tickets to learn more about free and discounted tickets for an event near you.
And what a great program to bring kids to the race. XFINITY races, the truck races, a little bit shorter than a cup race. Bring them, have a good time, do all the stuff before the race. That is a really cool promotion.
We've been talking about how dominant Eric Jones has been this entire race. Already has led 149 laps and counting, but it's a little bit different than what his career has been at this track. He's had 2 starts in the Cup Series. His best finish there, 22nd in the XFINITY Series. 1 start prior to this one, a 15th place finish there. And in the trucks, he also had a start here, but finished 11th. So he's looking to close this one out with 41 laps to go. He has been dominant running out front now with a 1.5-second lead over Blaney.
And I think it's important to note also that in his Cup car that he's going to race tomorrow, when I looked at all the speeds, he kind of stood out as a top 5, top 6 car. So he has a chance to get his first win in tomorrow's race as well.
Let's get an update on the playoff drivers and where they're running. We'll start with Dave.
The 7 of Justin Allgaier, the best running playoff driver, 5th right now. And according to crew chief Jason Burdett, they were working on maximum stage points today and finishing points. They've already gotten 11 stage points based on where he's finished so far, so that's a pretty good day. But why was that really their focus? He said because we expect Texas in 2 weeks, the next race, to be crazier than it'll be today. So he had a lot on his mind, Marty.
Dave, remember earlier we were debating about how much teammates were sharing information. Well, for William Byron and his team, they tested at Charlotte back in August. They felt like they found some things. They took that setup to Charlotte and Kentucky and finished 18th and 16th. It just wasn't working. They showed up here with that setup, and it wasn't working again. So whose setup did they borrow? Justin Allgaier. It's the guy right in front of him, his teammate. It's worked. Byron now has driven from 36 to 6, Parker.
And Cole Custer runs in 7th right now, trying to hold off that 3 of Ty Dillon behind him. He has had the most points scored on mile-and-a-half racetracks of anyone in the series this year. And in this race, he's gotten 5 points via the stages right now. And one of the things he's struggling with that race car, though, is he came across the radio just recently and said he thinks they made everything worse, which is not the right way you want to be going here with this long run end, Dave.
Been a nice recovery for Elliott Sadler after the earlier spin. And talking to his crew chief Kevin Mendering this morning, he said, I thought our struggles as a company were on the mile-and-a-half tracks, but this track was Elliott's best, so I've been very happy where we've unloaded. Right now, Sadler was 10th. Kelly?
Ryan Reed and the 16 team have been able to turn their day around a bit. They've been the lowest running playoff contender for much of this race. Ryan Reed now in the 11th position has said they know they've got to get better if they're going to have a shot to get to Miami. This team has had a race car that's just been way too edgy. They didn't have stability. They've made enough adjustments that he's been able to hang on just outside the top 10. Behind him is Brennan Poole, who's trying to run him down. Brennan Poole, again, coming off 3 straight top 5 finishes, has had a lot of confidence coming to this racetrack. They were inside the top 10 for stages 1 and 2. That slow pit stop hurt them. And right now, it seems like Brennan just doesn't quite have the handling again on the 48 that they'd like. He has lost a few spots since the restart, Dave.
And Kelly, that pink and black car behind him, Matt Tiff, the 21-year-old from Hinckley, Ohio. He's had a rough day, but they finally got the handling right. But when he restarted inside the top 10, he got shuffled out, and he's back to 13th now. And Daniel Hemrick, that penalty on the last stop for that tire violation. His main goal here was to get around the 11 of Blake Cook on the restart, to be the first car not on the lead lap. If the caution were to come out right now, he would get a free pass and get back on the lead lap, Rick.
35 laps to go, and as we continue to run under green flag conditions, we see the 11 a little bit slower and some smoke coming out of Blake Cook's car, and he got into the wall. We'll see if he's able to get all the way back around to pit road.
He got in the wall in the right front, I believe, is the biggest part of his issue. And obviously, if he cannot get to pit road without the tire coming apart or pieces coming off the race car, you see the right rear is flat. and that would cause a caution, but he's really close to making it.
And Rick, this is really a big deal on different sides of the fence for the playoff contenders. Great updates by all the pit reporters. The 1 of Elliott Sadler, the 00 of Cole Custer, they're behind on sets of tires, yet the 21 of Daniel Hemrick needed that yellow to get back on the lead lap.
Well, the battle is heated up for third place. We have Christopher Bell, 22-year-old, Tyler Riddick, a 21-year-old, two guys going at it lap after lap. Well, watch this. Riddick, a big move underneath 18 of Bell. Bell got blocked behind the lap car, but still squeezed. Riddick, I think, cut him a little bit of slack, lifted a little bit. That could have been a big incident. Marty.
Riddick's been driving the wheels off that thing. He's actually gotten into the wall a couple of times that the car has been a little bit too free, and he apologized to the crew. He said, I don't know why I keep getting in the wall, guys. Sorry about that, but clearly not slowing him down much, is it, guys?
No, he keeps digging. Again, Riddick in the 42, Bell in the 18. Those two continuing to fight for track position as we go NASCAR nonstop. You're watching the Kansas Lottery 300 from Kansas Speedway. Out front, Eric Jones being chased by Ryan Blaney. Today's aerial coverage provided by our partners at Smithfield Foods. Jones has a 2.5-second lead over Ryan Blaney. Then it's Christopher Bell and Tyler Riddick running third and fourth. Justin Allgaier in fifth. Byron, after starting at the back of the field, has made his way up to sixth. Cole Custer running seventh. Austin Dillon is eighth. Ty Dillon ninth. And Elliott Sadler in 10th. Marty.
Hey, Rick, last week was the first off week for the Xfinity Series in 20 weekends. So I asked William Byron, what'd you do with your off week? He said, I was busy. I was in the simulator with Jimmy Johnson for part of the week. And then Jimmy decided he was going to take William Byron and Alex Bowman to lunch. And if you look, they're sitting in the car seats in the back of Jimmy's car. And Jimmy, being the veteran that he is, I'm taking the kids to lunch. But he said that experience has been invaluable. Jimmy has become such a mentor to him just on how to approach these playoffs. And who else did he spend time with? Jeff Gordon, who's preparing him to be in the 24 car next year. Jeff, it's amazing what Hendrick Motorsports has in terms of depth, but William Byron couldn't think of two better guys to spend time with in an off week than Jimmy Johnson and Jeff Gordon, right?
Well, and I think for William Byron, too, William's just a sponge. He soaks up all the information. He loves to learn. And having a chance to spend time in a simulator with Jimmy Johnson, to have conversation with Jeff Gordon, what an advantage if you're willing to take advantage of it. If you're willing to put your ego aside and say, hey, look, these guys can help me, and take that opportunity. William Byron's that kind of person that would be willing to do it.
William Byron running in the 6th spot, 4 spots in front of him. Ryan Blaney in the 22 has the 2nd spot, but he's 1.5 seconds back, Parker.
Right, Rick, and he's actually finished second 5 times this year in the XFINITY Series. Actually, as he was going into Chicagoland earlier this year, he was approaching the best average finish of anyone ever in the XFINITY Series. He's had an incredible time in the series this year, but in this race, it's been a bit out of second place day. He finished second in the first stage, second in the second stage, and currently runs second, and recently came across radio and said the car is handling well, but it just doesn't have the speed. And so, Steve, Jeff, what do you do in that point when you don't quite have the speed and there's not much else you can tell your crew chief to work on?
Well, it's going to be very difficult to come up with something in the next 22 laps, but that's important information, because if a yellow flag does fly, you can make adjustments, raise the air pressure, perhaps change the balance for a shorter run. Remember, a yellow here, Jeff, and this would be a sprint to the finish.
Yeah, it'd be a completely different ball game. Now you're talking about coming in and having pit stops. Your pit crew's got to have a good pit stop. All those things got to happen right, and I'm pretty interested. It looked like to me Blaney may be cutting into Eric Jones' lead just a little bit, but I think that was just traffic. Now that Eric Jones has gotten free of traffic, he is posting the fast lap times again. So Eric Jones has just had the best car today. I mean, plain and simple, and he's taking advantage of it. Marty.
And Jeff, what a dominant performance for Eric Jones. He has led all but 10 laps here at Kansas so far today. And I think part of that with the 22 catching him might have been that he was saving a little bit of fuel just to make sure they had enough to make it to the end. Chris Gabehart told him, hey, we're good to go. Don't worry about that now. This is a needed run for Eric Jones here at Kansas. He's had 4 races at this racetrack between the Cup Series, Xfinity Series, and the trucks. He's never finished in the top 10, believe it or not. His best finish coming into today is 11th in the Truck Series. So Jones learning a lot, and that will help him tomorrow, where we all think he has one of the pretty good cars in Cup Series as well.
He's been running up at the high side of the track until he gets to the lap traffic, but Eric Jones out front by 1.5 seconds over Blaney as we go nonstop.
Back at the Kansas Speedway, Eric Jones continues to lead the field, but the cars have been under green since the last restart, longest run of the day. And as we know, the teams always push the performance on the tires. One driver in particular, Justin Allgaier, was a little bit concerned about his right front.
Really going tight here. Just trying to keep the right front on it here. I know I slowed down a little bit, just trying to keep the right front on it for the whole race. Yep, you got it, man. Take care of it for us here. Doing perfect.
Trying to nurse it home, one of the playoff drivers currently running 5th. And Steve, that's a big deal when the drivers know that lap count.
Well, and that lap count's very important, Dave, because these drivers are trying to go over 50 laps to the end of this race. Remember, Parker reported earlier, the 3-car had a corded tire after just 47 laps. So, that's going to make a big difference for these leaders. They're going to try to figure out, can they extend these tires all the way to the finish? Remember, this would be the longest ever green flag stretch for the Xfinity cars here in Chicago to finish the race.
And Steve, I think what's important for Justin Allgaier to be told right now is that William Byron is right behind him, obviously, but the next car is 10 seconds back. You're 12 laps to go. Is this one spot worth possibly damaging a right front tire? Slow down. You can slow down a second a lap and not lose a spot instead of taking a risk and blowing a right front tire.
Well, Jeff, not only are these drivers trying to manage out the tires, but they're trying to manage out traffic. So look at this right here with the 22 of Ryan Blaney as he comes up to traffic trying to race the 18. He catches a lap traffic, slows down, barely has room. Look at the wiggle and the shape of the 22. Loses a spot to the 18 because of it.
And now things are heating up as we're closing in on the final 10 laps. Under 11 to go from Kansas. Eric Jones with a 1.9 second lead. He has been comfortable out front of this field today. He's led 179 laps of the 189 run. Christopher Bell running second. Ryan Blaney is third. Tyler Riddick fourth. And Justin Allgaier fifth. But now we're hearing that Justin Allgaier might be nursing a right front tire that could be giving him some issues.
Yeah, we saw the 22 car, how loose he looked right there. That makes me wonder. We saw that right rear earlier, actually corded on a car. It makes me wonder if that 22 has abused his right rear tire. Now he's struggling. I know that Christopher Bell got by him with traffic, but once Christopher Bell got by him, he is driven away from Blaney.
And again, as we were mentioning, this is the longest green flag run of the day. That is 47 laps that have been run under green flag conditions. 9 laps to go from Kansas. Parker.
And Jeff, you were right about that 22. He's actually gotten tight right now. So I believe maybe they could be having the same issue as we heard on the 7, just maybe going a little bit too far on those tires right now.
So there you go. So if you're Ryan Blaney, what do you do? I mean, the only thing you can do, basically, you're not going to win this race unless something crazy happens. So just stay in the game. Hope a late race caution comes out, come down pit road, and now you got a shootout and anything can happen. But you're not going to run Eric Jones down all the way, basically 2.5 seconds ahead. So just stay ahead of 4th place at this point.
Let's listen in to the 9 radio.
Back up there with 7, man. Need every point we can get for this thing.
Right now, 25 points ahead of the cutoff line is William Byron. And if a non-playoff driver ends up winning this race, which Eric Jones could do that and be a non-playoff driver, that would mean that there would be 2 guaranteed spots that would get into the Homestead Miami Championship 4 that would be based on points.
Well, Rick, don't look now, but the 18 of Christopher Bell, Jeff, you said it. He has left the 22. Well, he has closed this gap down to 0.7 of a second. I'm not sure the 20 of Eric Jones is riding just to let him get that close. That's got to be too close for comfort, Marty.
And Steve, they just a moment ago grazed the wall in the 18 for Christopher Bell. They told him, hey, make sure you got something to race with him when you get up there to him. So 18's grazed the wall a little bit. Not too bad, but it's certainly catching his teammate, Eric Jones.
Well, under a half a second now as he scrapes the wall again. Rick, this is going to be a great 5-lap battle to the checkered.
And the 2 right now running the highest line around the track that we have seen all day. Right up against the wall, and closing the gap is Christopher Bell.
And the higher he gets, the more grip he seems to have. So, yeah, he doesn't want to hit the wall, but at the same time, with 5 to go, you got to get there. You got to push your car as hard as you can.
Under 0.3 of a second separating the top 2. Under 5 to go.
Now catching him one thing, he's passing him another. We've seen as cars have caught a guy running to the top, it's been very difficult to pull the pass off. So Christopher Bell right now needs to focus on getting there first. Do not try to formulate a plan until you get there. Once you get there, then formulate that plan.
And Jeff, no one has ever got their first ever Xfinity Series win here at Kansas. Can Christopher Bell break that streak?
Christopher Bell running second, closing in on the 20 of Eric Jones. Under 4 laps to go.
Look at the speed that Bell has in the middle of the corner compared to Eric Jones. Just destroyed him through the middle of the corner. Now he's trying to take a look.
He's got to run. He looks to the inside as they dive into turn 1. Christopher Bell takes the lead away, but here comes the 20. Contact made. The 20 into the wall. So's the 18. Smoke coming out the back. The 20 slowed way down. Now will the 18 be able to continue? And hearing that the 00 of Cole Custer also has a flat, he's on pit road. Christopher Bell out in front. Can he continue? Under 3 laps to go from Kansas.
Christopher Bell basically slid job. Eric Jones overdrove the inch of the corner, drove up in front of him. And Eric Jones didn't appreciate it, just stayed in the throttle and made major contact.
Slide job. I thought we were at Knoxville there, Jeff. He came right up and just parked it in front of the leader. He has every right to do it. But you mentioned it, Eric Jones didn't get out of the gas on purpose. Not happy about that move.
And he said so on the radio. He is not happy with young Christopher Bell. So this will be interesting post-race between the teammates.
Well, and Eric Jones has damage to his car. He's on the apron on the front straightaway, the right front. He has a flat. This may bring out the caution. I don't think it will.
He's going to try to stay on the apron and get back all the way around, which will be a long, long trip around for him to get to pit road, as we are now 1 lap to go, presented by Credit One Bank. The 14 sliding up the racetrack as well. That was J.J. Yaley. A half a lap remains for Christopher Bell, looking for his first career win in the Xfinity Series start. Through turns 3 and 4. Christopher Bell, the 22-year-old, comes back to the finish line. He'll win at Kansas.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
An aggressive move.
Nice job.
Gets Christopher Bell his first Xfinity Series win. And let's look back to how he took the lead away. He had the run on the 20 of Eric Jones.
Lead run Eric Jones down, so they're going down the back straightaway. You see he's got a good run, so makes the decision to go to the left. Now watch how far he drives in the corner. Carries a ton of speed, is never going to be able to stay on the bottom, never intended to, slid up in front. And Eric Jones just wasn't going to lift.
Jeff, I know Eric Jones is disappointed, but I'm not saying it was the cleanest move, but he hit him in the rear bumper, which tells me the 18 was clear, even though he was well off the pace when he slid up in front of him.
Well, he was definitely clear, but you know, he cleared himself by overdriving the corner and then having to park it in front of the guy he was passing. And when you do that, you expose yourself to potentially getting wrecked. Obviously, Christopher Bell came out the winner and did what he needed to do to win the race, and it wasn't because Eric Jones let him, I can promise you that.
So the interesting thing post-race between the 18 and the 20 will be that they are both fielded through Joe Gibbs Racing. Teammates as of sort, but as we've heard before, you don't race that way. On the racetrack, everyone for themselves. And you see the celebration now for Christopher Bell. Bell running for a championship in the Camping World Truck Series. He'll run full-time in the Xfinity Series next year, but gets his first Xfinity Series win, and it comes in 2017.
Well, what was impressive about that is that it appeared that Eric Jones had this race won. He was gone, and those last 10 laps, he just could not keep pace. And look at the damage on Eric Jones' car. I mean, he didn't hit Bell a little bit. He creamed him when he hit him.
He hit him a ton and then slid up into the wall, did a lot of damage to the right side of that car. Very disappointed after Eric Jones led 186 laps of the 200, but didn't want to give up the lead. Got into the back of the 18 as he did the slide job right up in front of him. In the end, it's Christopher Bell that celebrates the win at Kansas. Last 10 races, 10 different winners. Christopher Bell adding his name at the bottom of this list. Tyler Riddick, Alex Bowman, and now Christopher Bell, all first-time winners. So 3 out of the last 4 races, a first-time winner in the Xfinity Series. Kelly.
And a tough finish here for Erik Jones, who dominated so much of this race. What did you think of the move there that Christopher Bell made on you to take the lead?
Well, I mean, it's not dirt racing. You know, he's not clear. I can't just stop on the top. I mean, I didn't expect him just to drive in on the bottom so far. He wouldn't be able to hold his lane. It's unfortunate. You know, the Reese's Camry was really good, and I thought we were going to race for the win, and unfortunately there wasn't much of a race. It was more of a wreck. So it's unfortunate, you know, but we'll just have to move on. It's the first race in a while we've had a good Xfinity car, and you know, we just think we were going to have a good shot there to win, but it is what it is, and you know, it's going to happen.
All right, thank you, Eric. Rick.
And again, the move that Erik Jones is talking about was this slide move, more or less. He said it's not dirt racing. This is definitely a typical dirt move.
Well, I think right here, I don't think Erik Jones think he's coming all the way to the rate, you know, all the way to the wall. And Eric's staying in the gas, thinking he's going to jump back on the outside of him, and he just never kept coming up the racetrack. And I agree with Erik Jones. Like, there was Christopher Bell had to stop in front of him, but you know that it happened, and he got the win.
Well, ultimately, the car that's in victory lane is the 18 of Christopher Bell. Marty.
In just his 5th career start here in the Xfinity Series, Christopher Bell winds up in victory lane. He's going to celebrate. The team's going to celebrate. You know that. But what's going to be talked about is the move on his teammate, Erik Jones. Impressive win for you, but I got to ask you, any second thoughts about the move that you pulled on your teammate, Erik Jones?
I haven't seen it, so I can't really talk much about it, but you know, I never want to wreck anyone, especially my teammate, but I don't know, my spotter said clear. I drove it in really deep. I felt like I cleared him. I don't know.
Here's the replay.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I was clear, so it's my first Xfinity win. I'm sorry that Erik couldn't finish the race, but man, I'm just stoked. This thing was awesome. This JBL Toyota Camry was absolutely outstanding, and I'm really thankful to be able to be a part of this Joe Gibbs Racing Foundation. It's a dream come true to be here, and to be able to win in the Xfinity Series is just it's something that I dreamed of as a kid, so really excited about that.
Erik says he wishes it was racing for the win, but he said that was a wreck for the win. Your thoughts on that and what you might say to Erik after this?
Well, I mean, I'm going to apologize. It sucks that we couldn't race it out or he didn't finish the race, but I don't know, man. I cleared him there, and we're both on old tires. We're both sliding around, and I was going to the top.
Final few laps, did you think, hey, I might be able to catch him here, because it looked like he was going to run away with this thing?
Yeah, well, I ran him down from however far back I was, and then I got there, and it's always tough to make the pass because you get up there and the air gets disturbed, and it's tough because you don't have the grip that you have by yourself. But
you know, just really thankful to be here, and bummed the way it finished, but happy it held on, man. I was getting tire smoke inside the car there those last couple of laps, and was worried we weren't going to make it.
This young 22-year-old has 5 wins in the Camping World Truck Series. Now, guess what, Rick? He has an Xfinity Series win as well.
Well, Jeff, you heard it right there. Sorry, Rick. I was going to say, Jeff, you and I were discussing it. You heard it right there. Eric Jones says, you can't come up and stop in front of me. That's a dirt track move. Well, the dirt track racer said I was clear and I was going to the top. He has every right to do it. I think it comes down to the opinion. You and I talk all the time. What is correct racing on the racetrack? These two have a difference of opinion. And the 18 said, hey, this is my first win. I was going to take it. It's going to be an interesting conversation between teammates when this is all over.
Well, young drivers going for a win, right? I mean, that's what this is. And surely Christopher Bell drives right here. And yes, he had him cleared, but the only way he was going to clear him was to stop the car right in front of Eric Jones to keep from getting into the wall. Had he not slowed it down that much, Bell would have gotten into the wall. And Eric Jones is like, what do you want me to do? I mean, so is it a situation where they can both be right? You know what I mean? Like, it's without a doubt, young drivers going at it, going for the win. Christopher Bell put Eric Jones in a position where he had a decision he had to make, and Eric Jones didn't appreciate it, and Eric Jones made the decision, which I think it happened so quick. I don't think Eric thought he was coming up there. So he was in the gas, and it's just hard racing.
Because of the damage to the 20 of Eric Jones, who was running second, he fell all the way back to 15th. Moving up to the second spot was Tyler Riddick. And Parker talked to him just moments ago.
Tyler Riddick finishes second after starting on the pole. A great run, Tyler. Made a lot of headway there in that last run. What'd you need maybe to compete up further to the front?
Well, it's always at Kansas, you're right on the fine line of too tight or too loose. And just at the end there, we were a little too tight again. Our 3-start before, we were a little bit on the loose side, and we lost a little bit of track position up front, but we were better in the end. We couldn't pass. So we were just trying to, find the happy medium. Unfortunately, when I lost a couple positions on restart right before the end of the stage 2, it was just hard to gain that back. We had a good car. For a minute there, it looked like anything could have happened. We were going to win. The 22's tire was coming apart. So just big thanks to PBR Music Group, EOS, Parker Store, Chevrolet, and Xfinity for, giving young guys like us a chance to race in the series, and thanks Chip Ganassi Racing for letting me run this car. It's been a rocket ship, and it's a shame. Really wanted to win for him today, but second place is bad.
You won at Kentucky, the pole here. You had some great runs in this car, been very fast. What does this mean for next year, going full time? Is this the momentum you need, some of the runs you wanted to show before you go full time?
Yeah, sure. It's always good. I just want to run good for my guys over Ganassi. They're trying to get their first owners championship, or just championship in general. And winning would have been nice, but second's about as good as you can be without winning. So we'll see what Kyle does at Texas, and hopefully Alex has a good run at Phoenix, and we're there at Homestead.
Been some great runs for Tyler Riddick in this 42 car this season.
And the 00 of Cole Custer. They tried a little pit strategy early in the race, changing just 2 right side tires, but then in the end had to come back to pit road very late because of a tire going down. Was in the top 10. And then after the tire issue right there, you hear the tire go. He comes to pit road and ends up 19th today. Look at the points.
Yeah, so think about that, though. He had a problem late in the race, but getting those stage points makes this not as bad as it could have been. So he earned those stage points by gambling a little bit. After blowing a tire late in the race, to only be 8 points back, I call that a win. It could have been much worse had he not gotten those stage points.
And Parker caught up with him just moments ago as well.
You guys ready? Cole Custer finishes 19th after being in the top 10 for most of the race. Had a tire issue there. Just describe me what happened there in that final run.
Looks like we ran over something. There's a big cut in the tire, but it just sucks. I mean, we kind of fought the car a little bit all day, but it was definitely, we made the best out of it, I feel like, and we were going to end up all right. But it just is what it is. We had a solid Haas on a mission, Code 3 Mustang, but it was just how it goes sometimes. But we'll rebound in the next couple races.
You guys got 5 stage points, virtue of 1 point in the first stage, 4 in the second stage. You guys used a little bit of strategy, too. Did you agree with that strategy that Jeff Blaney was pulling there to put you on 4 new tires for that second stage?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought it got us a lot of stage points there, more than we probably would have had if we stayed out. So I think it was definitely a good call in my opinion, and I think the stage points definitely saved us a little bit today.
And as we look ahead through this round, if you guys are going to compete for the championship in the Champ 4 at Miami, what do you guys need to improve on from today that you saw?
It's kind of hard because we haven't raced here all year, so we didn't really know what to expect. But it was we got it better. I think this place is in our strong suit, but I think we have some good tracks coming up.
And some good tracks coming up for the 00 team and Cole Custer as they continue to fight for this championship.
7th for Sadler this afternoon, but I heard you breaking it down on the way in. You felt like it could have been a whole lot more, but for that spin.
Oh, man, we had a rocket, especially on long runs. We were really fast, and right before I spun, like the first 5 laps before that, we were the fastest car on the track, and a tire came apart. I don't know if I run over something or not, but the right rear came apart. That's when in turn 3, and he just came around quick on us. And fortunate enough, everybody behind me did a great job, and I gave them a big target to hit, but they didn't hit us. But I'm proud of Hunt Brothers Pizza. They came on with us this year. They let us run the pink car for breast cancer awareness, but we kept fighting and that's what all those people with breast cancer do each and every day of their lives, especially my mom. So proud of my guys for not giving up, making adjustments on the pit stop, taking our time, fixing it, and then driving back up there, close to the front. So I'm not sure where we're at on points, but all in all, a good day.
When crew chief Kevin and I were talking about the strength of the program, the 1.5 miles had not been it this year. How does this day tell the future, maybe?
Yeah, I was really happy with the beginning. We drove up to 6th, and then we were up to, right. I could see the guys there before. I think we were up to 5th before we lost the tire. So this is the best 1.5 miles we've had in a while, which we've been good the last couple months. But I was really comfortable today, good in traffic, and that bodes well for us going to Texas here in 2 weeks. So proud of my guys, all the guys at JRM. Good job in the fab shop getting this car ready. We're gonna have to work on it some more before we run it again. And great job in the engine shop. And we'll just keep digging. That's what we need to do.
Strong turnaround for Elliott this afternoon.
Well, Brennan Poole collected stage points, both stage 1 and 2. Then it was kind of a botched pit stop that cost you some track position. What were you guys lacking there in that final stage to really go up there and compete?
Yeah, I think, all in all, we just needed to be a little bit better all weekend. We were lacking some speed, but we had some good long run speed. It's just so tough to pass here. And, we got some good stage points in the first 2 stages. And then when we fell behind on that last pit stop, it was just hard to make it back up. We were fighting loose there that last run. But I'm just proud of the effort. We got +5 now to the good. So it's a good first run. It was way to survive. We always fight to the end. So proud of the team effort, and we'll be better at Texas. And just want to thank Chevrolet, XFINITY, everybody who's been involved with this program to help us do what we do out here. It's been a blast all year, and I'm looking forward to headed and racing in front of my home crowd in Texas.
Yeah, so you come away with a 12th place finish, as you said. Talk about just the teamwork and that you guys were able to recover from the mistake on pit road and have a clean day.
Yeah, this team has been really strong the past couple months. We've been really fast. We've been right there. We had 3 top 5s in a row leading up to this weekend. We've been contending for wins, and so I think it puts us as a serious threat to win this title. So, we had some things go our way today where we were able to gain a little bit of a lead and get some cushion. So it'll be same as always. In 2 weeks, we'll have to get some stage points and have another good run in my home state. And I feel like we can go win.
We look forward to Texas. Thank you.
Thank you.
The goal in racing is always to get to the finish line first. That's exactly what Christopher Bell was able to do today. Eric Jones might not be too happy about it, but big smiles on the face of young Christopher Bell.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of NASCAR Broadcasting. NASCAR would like to thank all of our fans for your support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.
very eventful finish to the race here at Kansas Speedway for the Xfinity Series. Christopher Bell ending up in victory lane, and his celebrations will continue. We want to thank the 47 team, JTG Doherty Racing, and Kroger Clicklist for allowing Steve Letarte to live some of his glory days once again back on the pit box. What'd you see down there that really impressed you, Steve?
You think I would remember to turn the mic on after being here all day, but what I learned is I had the best seat in the house for Elliott Sadler's day. We were in pit stall 22, he was in pit stall 23, and it was a very eventful day. Remember, he was running 6th early in the race when this spin right here happened. At this point, he was 22 points above the cut line. Well, he spun out, lost track position, had to battle, continued to work on their car, was fortunate that nobody hit him. But when you talk about battling and resiliency, that's what Junior Motorsports and this one team showed today. A little fire on pit road, but they recovered. They fell all the way back to 20th. They battled their way back up, and after all of that, to end up inside the top 10, finishing in the 7th position, and ending up 22 points in the positive, it was a very eventful day for the one. I had a great seat, and I'd also like to say thank you to the 47 team, to Kroger, to JTG, to allow me to come back here, back to home sweet home, pit road, and watch this race. The perspective was a blast, and Elliott Sadler next to me, it was an eventful day.
And Steve, we want you to come join us up here in the booth now. We're on NBC until the top of the hour, 6 Eastern, so we'll be here to hear from quite a few more drivers, and for that we'll go now to Parker.
William Byron finishes 4th, and it was not an easy day. You started from the back, made good headway at the beginning, and then started running some tougher cars to pass. It actually got in the wall twice. Just describe it for me.
Yeah, it was just, it was pretty crazy running the wall and kind of coming from the back. The air is just bad back there, and trying to pass a lot of cars at once. Just got in a couple of tight squeezes, and after that we rebounded for the second stage, and then just had a couple good runs there. Just couldn't quite get it to fire off. First couple laps, it kind of would go backwards, and then we'd be really fast after that. So good job to our guys to execute and get ourselves up there, and that's what we need for the next couple races. So learned a little bit, I think, for Homestead, running against the wall, and we'll just see what we got there.
You mentioned learning and actually running against the wall. It was said that at Chicago, when you guys had the issue, running up next to the wall helped you learn how to do that. Did you learn more here, and what was it that you're learning about running up next to the wall?
I think I learned more definitely at Chicago, because here the pace is so fast. You are using the wall, but it's not the same. There's grip up there. At other racetracks like Homestead, there's no grip, and you're using the wall to help you turn. So I think it was different here, but it worked for us, and tried to stay off it and get our Cessna Chevy up there, and good to finish 4th.
And just handicap the next couple tracks for me as we go ahead here, as we go in trying to get to Miami. Do you feel good about them? Do you feel like you're going to bring the same level of pace that you have throughout this season, next couple tracks?
I think so. I think those top 3 cars are super fast right now, but we're not racing them. We're racing our teammates and racing a couple other guys. So I think we're right there, and Phoenix has been a really good track for us. Hopefully we can just continue to not make mistakes and put ourselves in position. Texas is going to be fast. It's going to be a repave, but I think that Phoenix will be able to run really well.
That's it. William Byron with a top 5 run here at Kansas.
Well, an interesting day for sure for Matt Tifft, but he came through with a top 10. How'd you get there?
It was a battle all day. These last 5-6 weeks have been a battle, and we've had that all year, but we've just been able to make good runs out of kind of bad days, and we over-adjusted the first pit stop and kind of get ourselves behind on adjustments, and hats off to Dave Rogers. He got me back where I needed to be, and we started to make headway back into the top 10. So sure would have liked to have been a few spots better than that, but all in all, a solid day for our Surface Sunscreen Fanatics Camry. We're plugging along. We just need to get those stage points in Texas and Phoenix. That's our big thing, to be able to make it in the Final 4. We're getting closer. But I'm just proud we're getting the finishes we need, and we're battling back from tough days to get good finishes out of them.
You started in the rear. What did that do to you mentally, and then was that a part of the problem adjusting it early, do you think?
It is, because you're trying to get up through the field so fast and trying to get up there without abusing your tires, but at the same time you're going through the pack and you can't waste too much time. So yeah, I'm sure part of it was probably going through the front tires a little bit too quick there. But the hard part here at Kansas is that it's so fast, and track position is so important. You can pass guys, and they're we go from bottom to top here, but everybody is still pretty equal. So it's hard to get good runs on guys. So when you start that far back, trying to work your way up, eventually those guys just kind of distance themselves, and your game plan changes from when you start 8th to when you start 40th.
All right. Well, he got back to 8th, and that's the good news for Matt.
Matt Tiff, the 21-year-old from Hinckley, Ohio. And again, we heard, got back up to the 8th position. Right there in victory lane, Christopher Bell continuing to celebrate. Tomorrow, the playoffs continue on NBCSN with an elimination race for the Monster Energy Cup Series. Who will advance to the round of 8? Race coverage from right here at Kansas Speedway begins at 3 p.m. Eastern. For more on tomorrow, let's go to Rutledge Wood.
I tell you what, Rick, being here in the Cup Garage after that Xfinity finish, you would think that all of these guys were watching the race, not working on the cars, because I can't tell you how many of them just came up and said, did you see Christopher Bell just win his first Xfinity race? Yes, guys, I did. I was watching the whole thing. But right now, you can take a look in the garage. You can see all the prep that's going on. Right now, Jay McMurray's team is working hard. You know what a big win this would be for him. And you got to wonder, if somebody tried a little dirt track move on him, the question would be, would he lift a little bit and let him in, try to do the crossover? Maybe, maybe not. I think Clint Boyer is another guy you're going to see up there mixing it with him. We can see a little further down the road, Matt Kenseth's team, Kyle Busch's team. So many guys doing final preps because we know every single point in these stages count. Every moment, every lap for these guys is a big deal. So you can tell how much pride these guys are putting in. They are working every single minute down here, Rick. It all counts.
Absolutely. And a couple of guys that are in must-win situations right there with Ricky Stenhouse Jr. as well as Jamie McMurray. And again, that will be an elimination race tomorrow to find out who will be in the round of 8 for the Monster Energy Cup Series. We look at after the first race of the round of 8 for the Xfinity Series, and 3 drivers have separated themselves. Justin Allgaier, William Byron, and Elliott Sadler, all 22 points and above that cut line. And Brennan Poole, the other driver that's currently above the cut line in that 4th position, 5 points up. Let's go now to Dave.
Top 5 today for Justin Allgaier on a day when it sounds like you were nursing it home a little bit there at the end.
Yeah, you know, we were not really sure if we were going to make it on fuel. Everybody was kind of close, but we had something going on. I think we had a header or something that had cracked early on in the race, hurt our power, but we're pretty sure that it hurt our fuel mileage as well, and we weren't quite getting the fuel mileage that the other guys were. So, you know, we did our job. We were able to nurse it home there to a solid finish, a great point save for us. You know, hats off to everybody back at the shop at Junior Motorsports. They've done a great job. These 7 guys did an awesome job this whole weekend on our degree deodorant Chevy, and you know, good points there. We can take the off week, keep building on what we learned today, and go to Texas in a few weeks, and hopefully have a good solid weekend.
And you radioed to your crew that you might need to take care of your right front a little bit. How does the driver do that?
Well, you know, at the end of the race there, when the groove had moved all the way to the fence, especially at the end, we were just way too tight on that last run. And so you're putting a lot of load and a lot of pressure and a lot of stress on that right front tire. And, you know, the last thing we wanted to do was to basically put ourselves in a hole and hit the wall or to have a tire blowout. So, you know, just back the corners up, get back to the gas a little bit later, and hopefully it lives. And, of course, it did. So kudos to Goodyear for that. This tire was a lot of fun to race on this weekend. And we just got to keep working on the little details, and we'll be all right.
Good conservative tire management at the end. Top 5 for Justin.
It was the first career win for Christopher Bell as he continues to take pictures in victory lane. And Jeff, the reason he's standing in victory lane right now, some people are calling it a little bit of a controversial move to get the lead.
Well, first of all, what a great feeling to get your first win. But see, Christopher Bell overdrives the corner entry. Now he's got to slow the car down. Eric Jones, I don't think he expected that he was going to come up there. What do you do? 2 young guys racing for the win. I love the spirit. I love the enthusiasm. I'm okay with the move. I also would have been okay if when the 20 got into him, that it would have spun the 18 out, because when Christopher Bell drove up there and did the slide job and had to slow way down, he put himself in a vulnerable position. So I'm good with the move, like I said. But also, if you're going to make that move and somebody runs into the back of you and spins you out, you have to be good with that as well. So just 2 guys racing for the win.
Most consecutive wins by a team at a single track. Add Kansas to the list for Joe Gibbs Racing. 5 consecutive wins now in the Xfinity Series here at this 1.5 miles. You see the 9 wins that they have at Auto Club Speedway. So Joe Gibbs Racing has been a dominant force in the Xfinity Series. And Jeff, with that move that we saw Christopher Bell make, Eric Jones, a lot of times you would see the guy that's coming up from the back do a crossover move. He would try to turn left because the momentum goes away from the 18, and the 20 still had the momentum, turns left, tries to go back by on the inside.
Well, I think in retrospect, obviously that's what Eric Jones wishes he would have done. But again, I don't think that Eric thought he was coming all the way up there. I think Eric believed he was going to leave him a hole, because you could see how slow he had gotten. He had to slow way down to keep from getting in the wall, and Eric Jones was in the gas. I think Eric Jones had in his mind he was just going to jump around the outside. If Eric had to do all over again, knowing everything he knows now, yes, I think that's what would have happened. He would have turned left and tried to cross him over.
Well, I think we're all winners, because the storm that was predicted to come in around 4 o'clock local time ended up moving and staying to the west of us, so we were lucky enough to be able to get the entire race in. And a big battle in college football taking place tonight right here on NBC, 7:30 Eastern. It's 11th ranked USC versus 13th ranked Notre Dame. Battle on the gridiron coming up a little later this evening. For a little more post-race coverage, let's go over to Krista, Kyle, and DJ.
Thank you, Rick. No question, Christopher Bell had the luck of the Irish with him today here in Kansas. And yeah, you see some of the issues we saw on the track. And this was a really fast race. We said, and Rick mentioned, they were racing each other. They were racing the storm. The storm never came. But the fact that this race represented new hope. Tomorrow's race represents a last chance, an elimination race. This race for these Xfinity drivers, the first race in the round that gets you to Miami, was the big draw. But yet, DJ, it wasn't a playoff driver who won. For the 4th time in the playoffs, a non-playoff driver wins. So nobody has the automatic ticket to the championship race. But those playoff drivers, there were a few who certainly helped their cause, like William Byron.
Yeah, certainly. We talked about the challenges they were going to face, and 2 of the drivers we mentioned finished 2nd and 3rd. We didn't mention Christopher. I didn't mention Christopher Bell, but what an exciting finish to the race there. I just wonder, as you get ready to embark on your Xfinity career going to Joe Gibbs Racing next year, I'm not sure this is the way to treat teammates, but he's after trying to get a win.
That's right.
So he did what he had to do, and I think that Eric Jones will appreciate that.
Yeah, Eric may be a little upset about it right now, but look, this is Christopher Bell's first opportunity, maybe best opportunity to win a race. That's a slide job. Since there's been cars, since there's been corners, there's been slide jobs, okay? And I don't know, but everywhere I've ever been, when you run into somebody from the back, it's your fault. He's got a pedal in his car. He can let off right there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't believe he expected him to come up that fast. I do believe that. But I'm telling you, what a great move. What a gutsy move.
Yeah.
We saw, remember, reminiscent of when Carl Edwards went into turn 3 and just rim rode around the corner trying to win this thing. That's how bad he wanted it. I think that's how bad Christopher Bell wanted this.
Yeah, the Kansas Highway Patrol would give Eric Jones a ticket on that.
That's right.
For hitting someone from behind.
Exactly.
So, yeah, there's so many things that go into that, but just the run to get there by Christopher Bell, because he was sitting back in third, and then he all of a sudden in a move he picked off Ryan Blaney, and then he drove up there. Eric Jones, it didn't look like was going to be able to be touched all day long because he was just so dominant. But that's why you've got to wait till the very end. You never know what's going to happen with these. But the Xfinity records, I'll mention another. You said William Byron came from the rear, and that was a great job of driving. He got into the wall early, but managed to survive all of that, did a great job. The other was Elliott Sadler after his spin to come back, because at one point he was all the way down to like plus 6 points above the cutoff line, and now he's got a 22-point cushion.
So it's good to know the rules. Same rules apply on the road for me. Will apply to them as far as that.
Maybe sometimes. It depends on which position you're in there. We're going to use it that way.
Christopher Bell, the 22-year-old from I guess you could say nearby. I mean, Norman, Oklahoma, about 367 miles, 5 hours away. Of course, we now steer forward to tomorrow, the Monster Energy Cup race, an elimination race. Here are the 12 drivers still eligible for the championship. Only the 2 in yellow know they're moving on. 4 drivers, those 4 who are currently in red, whoever after the end of the race tomorrow is out. Their championship hopes are done. What did we see today, DJ, that maybe could apply to tomorrow? We talked about William Byron was able to go from the back to the front. Ryan Blaney's going to have to do the same thing.
Yeah, he's just to try to survive, he's going to have to do the same thing. But we saw, because this racetrack widened out now. You've got from the bottom to the top of the racetrack to race on, so that makes passing a little bit easier. It's not that everybody's single file and the only way around is the bottom. It may get to the point that the only way around is the top, but it allows you to make a pass and make a slide job, if you will. That's what Ryan Blaney's going to have to do tomorrow. But when I look at this racetrack has just gone into the favor of Kyle Larson for tomorrow. He's not in a must-win situation, but he's been fast, and his car was really good in that final practice today.
Yeah, I think a couple of things as I look at that group. And you talk about Ryan Blaney. We saw William Byron drive from the back of the pack to the front and score points. And score points and score segment points. Segment points are going to be critical tomorrow for all of these guys racing that are especially right there at the cutoff line. It's tougher in a Cup race than it is in an Xfinity race. I don't see that happening, even though the Cup segment is a little bit longer tomorrow. It's going to be really tough for Ryan Blaney to find his way there. And just as Dale said, this plays right into Kyle Larson's hand, up against the wall. Kyle Larson was the fastest in the first Cup practice, fastest in the second. He was, what, 7th, 8th, 9th?
8th quick, I believe.
But if we go back and pay attention to that practice, and if you could go back and watch it, he did all his running up next to the wall, and the groove has moved up again from there. So he was already preparing. Again, it's a practice. What do you do when you practice? You go out and figure out where you want to be, where the most grip is, and that's what Kyle Larson did. So I think the guys going to bed tonight and these motor coaches down there are going to be seeing that 42 in their nightmares tonight, thinking he may be my worst guy tomorrow.
Okay, well, Kyle Larson trying to do what Brad Keselowski and Martin Truex have done, advance themselves to the next round. Martin Truex, by the way, I mean, not only has he been good this season, he has specifically been good on these types of racetracks. Mr. Mile and a Half, he's won 5 of the 8. 5 of the 8 that we have seen this year, and of those 8, he's finished top 10 in all of them, and he's on the pole. I mean, really, this team is, I mean, I want to just touch this team because they've got the magic right now.
Yeah, and I think the thing that I see about this team, we can talk stats and we can talk this all we want to. What I still see about this team, and I go back a couple of weeks to when they won, when they were in victory lane, you would have thought it was the first race they had ever won. The other day, yesterday, or was it yesterday? Saturday. When they sat on the pole here yesterday, you looked at it and you thought, oh my gosh, this is the first pole these guys have ever won as a group. That's the enthusiasm. That's the desire to win. You see those 6 decals there. He won 7 races in his entire career up until this year. He's got 6 victories. This is a personal year. This is a huge year for him. So I don't see this team stepping aside, slowing down, people blasting by them. I don't see that happen. This is the team that you're going to have to beat to get to Miami, and this is the team you're going to have to beat when you get to Miami.
Yeah, and I think as we talked about Kyle Larson being what might be the favorite, that was a given that you're going to have to outrun this 78 Martin Truex tomorrow if you're going to go to victory lane. And what is his motivation? To continue that, to have the best season on mile and a half for anyone has ever had, and to possibly either keep Jimmy Johnson or Kyle Busch advancing to that next round.
And you talk about that celebration. Yes, some of that was what's going to happen at Kansas, but he also gets the first pit stall based on that qualification next week at Martinsville, which is not one of his best tracks. You win at Martinsville, you get the automatic ticket to Miami. Each race has drama. Here is what we have coming up for you tomorrow. We will be with you on NASCAR America's pre-race show beginning at 1 p.m. Eastern. We'll have more post-race coverage here from Kansas in just a bit.
Be like, sorry guys, I didn't get
Okay.
My radio went bad on 103.
Huge game coming up in just a few moments in South Bend here in Kansas at the corner of Interstate 435 and Interstate 70. It's all about the pressure of Elimination Sunday.
These drivers come to Talladega hoping for the best, but understanding that it might be the worst.
The guys are on edge.
I'm a realist, you know, and you're only as good as your last race.
There's a lot of others who do have to worry. Going to Kansas Speedway with a lot of pressure on them.
Anything can happen. Obviously, you hope to not be in a must-win situation.
Whenever you have an elimination, you see some extra aggression or more desperate moves if you got to have that spot to get into the next round.
It's going to be intense, and it'll keep you on the edge of your seat the whole time.
One bad race could end it for you. I think you have to lay it all out there and know that there's no second chances.
Yeah, the second chances are over. 12 becomes 8 tomorrow here at Kansas Speedway. Okay, Rick, Jeff, Steve, you guys just called this Xfinity Series race. What did we learn? What are we going to see here tomorrow?
Well, for starters, which of these three is not like the other? Obviously, you didn't get the memo on the blue shirt.
I didn't get the blue checkered shirt, and it's a little more casual on pit road. But that was really the beauty. I got to watch this race from pit road like days of old. There was a lot of excitement. I want to thank the 47 team for allowing me to be down there. Pit stall 22, and I'm going to tell you, Rick, it was a good seat because pit stall 23, right next door of Elliott Sadler, it was a busy pit stall, but a great job recovering. Got back in the top 10.
I would have seen Rutledge running from the fryer. I would have liked to see that. 'Cause he's not a very brave individual, but, you know, they ask what did we learn, and I tell you what I learned is that this racetrack, like we expected, it's going to be very, very wide. We're going to see multiple groove racing, drivers running all over the place. And the other thing is, late in the run, these tires go away. And we saw Christopher Bell run Eric Jones down. Eric Jones' handling went completely away. We saw Blaney's handling go completely away. So long run speed is going to matter. Huge gains made at the end of these runs.
Well, imagine this. Next or tomorrow, more horsepower, which means those tires are going to go away even quicker.
I was going to say, it's the same tire compound, right, for the Cup Series tomorrow. So are we going to expect the same thing? We saw at about lap 47 to 50, we saw these tires giving way a little bit. So maybe the guys in the Cup Series look at this and think, we might have to conserve a little bit of these tires for the longer runs.
I think that's accurate, and I want to go on record, though, to say that's an excellent tire. It's not Goodyear's responsibility to build a tire that you can just run all day long. That is a skill set I like to see teams and drivers have to take care of their equipment and take care of those 4 Goodyear tires. That's what we saw today. We're going to see more of it tomorrow. But you mentioned the racetrack. What a beautiful sight to see cars from the bottom to the top. This multiple groove surface, multiple different angles has really worked in. It's aged wonderful. This track puts great racing on.
And that tire fall off, by the way, the teams and drivers have been screaming for it. They want it. They think it makes the racing better, and it does. Without tire fall off, Christopher Bell does not make that run to get to Eric Jones. Eric Jones coasts to a win.
And you see the Monster Energy Cup Series garage. They're still working down there, right, Rod?
They sure are, Rick, and I tell you what, a lot of brave guys down here. None of them are wearing ties sitting in a glass case upstairs, I can tell you that. Burton, it's kind of crazy. We're watching right now, 24 team working hard on Chase Elliott's car, staying on the rack that they got underneath there tonight. Right next door, they're just closing up Blaney's car and the 48 team. All these guys getting out of here, they work, guys, every single minute they can. They got to be out of here by 5 o'clock. So you're seeing all the covers go on, all the teams going away for the night, try to get a little rest and get back here crack of dawn in the morning and do it all again. But I tell you what, Krista, it is a crazy thing to see all these guys, all this work to the very last minute for all these playoff teams.
And that's cool, right? Because that's a vision or image that a lot of fans don't get to see. The fact the garage is still open, about to close, but these teams continue to work. They go back to their respective hotels and still think about everything that's going to happen tomorrow. Steve Letarte, by the way, would fit in with us. We're like the casual booth.
It's casual. Yeah, he went in the wrong booth.
Yeah, over here. Steve Letarte, of course, former crew chief for Dale Earnhardt Jr. Tomorrow on the Today Show, Willie Geist sits down with Dale Jr., talks about his final season, reflecting on his career and his relationship with his father.
I hated that I lost him, and I hate that he can't be around to know my wife, and she wants to know him so badly, you know, and what kids we hope to have will never get to meet him and experience what he was like, because he was this really special person. He just was everybody's hero, you know, and it didn't take him long when he would meet a new person that he would have that impact on them. People loved him.
We really encourage fans to watch that because they're going to see a different side of Dale Earnhardt Jr.
Yeah, it'll be cool to hear him talk about his dad, to hear him talk about different things that are personal to him. It's pretty special.
Yeah, and Dale Jr. is way more like his dad than probably what he even imagines, but both just very special people. That'll be very interesting.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. in his final race at Kansas tomorrow. Not in the playoffs. He can't win the championship, Rick. Those 12 drivers who are still eligible, again, 4 done after tomorrow.
Yeah, elimination race, so much pressure building. A couple drivers are in a must-win situation, but points so important tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm going to have a close look on Ryan Blaney starting in the back, Jeff.
Yeah, we saw it at full display here, how stage points matter. We're going to see that tomorrow right from the green flag drop.
And we saw how aggressive some drivers will be to get to victory lane. Christopher Bell today gets his first ever XFINITY Series win. Congratulations to him.
I had all my info. I had it right here.
After Homestead, we'll have it all figured out.
Tomorrow, I'm going to get you there.
2021.
You're an optimist.
Yes, very.
Very optimistic. I think we'll all still have jobs then?
No.
I hope she'll be here. I'll
Yeah.
assure you that. I'm just letting you know that.
I'll see you every year at induction. I know I'll see you at least once a year.
All right, people, that was fun. Thank you,
Yeah.
guys. Sorry y'all had to do all that.
I know, that was, we were surprised too. We're like,